Hello and welcome back to my channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Let's begin. We're only T13, and I'm N not already. Ichigo narrowed his eyes, before snapping them wide, in shock. Oh no. No, I'm just shacking on the couch, he said, half aspirated, half amused. The bed is all yours. Just, don't be afraid to wake me, where you get a crazy thought like that from. The M movies made it seem like that it always happened. No more rom-coms for you. Kurosaki Ishin was a lax parent. Well, at least with his son. The entire situation made him really uncomfortable, but there was nothing he could do about it. Orihime needed someone right now. I don't believe I checked the mail today, he said, aloud, to no one in particular. He walked outside, opened the mailbox, and grabbed the contents inside. He then walked over to his couch, sat down, and examined each letter. And froze when he hit a certain one, sent by the late Inoue Sora. Ishin's expression hardened. And to think that it would end like this. Fitting. But so unfair. You still sleep on a futon? Ichigo said, thought that we were finally getting away from those. Onii-chan said that he was going to get us a pair of beds, when he got the money. Orihime said, softly, voice trailing off. Ichigo, you are the worst at this, the teen cursed at himself. Fix this. Fix this. I can get you a bed, Ichigo blurted out. That is the very definition of a panic move. Stop snarking at me, brain. I'm under a lot of pressure right now. Yeah, we still have my old bed frame, and getting you a new mattress shouldn't be hard. In no time, you'll be in a bed. Orihime looked down, sadly. You don't have to do this, she said. Ichigo blinked, before following her eyes, to see what she was looking at. Sora's futon. Ichigo had no idea how to tackle this. He wanted to help, but felt that by helping, all he would do is make things worse. Despite having the familiar feeling of losing an important member to your family, he had no connection with her. While he lost his mother, he still had family. Orihime did not. She didn't have money. Ichigo wondered how she was going to be able to pay Ichigo had no problems in his living situation. Ichigo barely had any problems at all, actually. So why was he so bad at helping Inoue with hers? Wow. A summer house. That's so cool. Orihime
you are useless than cops.
No. My dad is fronting the majority of the bill. All I gotta pay for is our tickets. It's fine. But, Kurosaki-kun, you don't have to pay for my ticket. It would be rude of me to ask you to go, and make you pay for your own ticket. Orihime blushed slightly. Now, can we talk about your current housing, Ichigo said, tone becoming a bit more stern. Now, I know that you don't feel like you're wanted, for some reason. I know you Inoue. I know that you feel like this. I don't like this. Now, tomorrow, while I'm doing a bit of work, you, Tatsuki, and I can do a bit of house hunting, don't you think? Orihime blinked. I guess that doesn't sound too bad. Great. We'll have fun, in a way. It'll be like old times. Why yeah, like old times. Here's your drink, master, Tatsuki said, sharply, holding a glass cup, with a dark purple liquid inside, and a lime on the lip. Ichigo chuckled. Okay. Now, take a sip. Tatsuki blinked. You gotta be kidding me. Absolutely not. Take a sip, then I will. Tatsuki frowned before stamping back to the kitchen, prompting a grin to grow on Ichigo's face. You can't trick a trickster, Arisawa. No Kigo, you can't go with me today, Ichigo said, sternly, I have work to do. You being there would prevent that. You're so mean, Ichigo. Kigo cried, Ms. Wiro is on a date, and Chad said that he's resting, so I have no one to hang out with. Stop whining. Keep it up, and you will have to buy your own ticket. Please don't do that. Then stop being a punk, Ichigo said, before ending the call. He stuffed the phone back into his pocket and walked out of the door. I guess today will be a good day. What should I wear, Tatsuki-chan? Oriheim shouted, practically dancing around the room. Tatsuki sighed. Whatever you want. I don't think Ichigo will care too much, the tomboy said. This did not alleviate Oriheim's concerns. Truthfully, I don't know why you go to these great lengths to impress him. I truly doubt he cares about what you were. Still, this did not calm the flustered girl. Tatsuki sighed. Honestly, she would prefer anyone beside for Oriheim to crush over, but he did have some good qualities. Yeah, he was an a-hole, but at the same time, he was genuinely nicer to Oriheim than he was to other people. Yeah, he made fun of her, but it was like it was with her and Seda, rather than flaw-exposing beatdowns, like it was with Kojima and Asano. He actually cared about his friends, and wanted to make sure that they good. He was beside Oriheim the entire time. When Tatsuki's father was in the hospital, he made sure to visit whenever he had the chance. Despite having some brutal flaws, Ichigo was friendly enough to make you feel welcome, and casual enough to make you feel relaxed. Of course, Ichigo being only male Oriheim had a significant relationship with, it was inevitable that she would have a romantic interest in him. She revealed that she liked Ichigo. Tatsuki didn't know how to react. She probably handled it wrong, and repressed her feelings. Ichigo, despite him probably knowing about the crush, didn't change. He acted the same way, but knew that since Oriheim wasn't coming clean with her feelings, that the friendship would probably burn out. He tried to preserve it, but it wasn't going to happen. Despite on everything that happened, the two seemed like they were doing better. That was good. Tatsuki and Ichigo seemed to be improving too, despite old scars not fading, but Rome wasn't built overnight. The vibrating of her phone knocked Tatsuki out of her stupor. She grabbed her phone, flipped it open, and read a new message. Yo, Oriheim, hurry up. Ichigo is on the way. Ichigo and Sado. Of course, one would say that the Kurosaki Ichigo and the Yasutora Sado relationship was an odd one. To an outside observer, one would say that the two of them were distant acquaintances, but the two shared an intensely strong bond. They each other's back, no matter what. No matter the menace they faced, they would face it together. No matter the bully they encountered, they wouldn't do it alone. And they did it, with minimal conversations between the two. One of the major reasons why Ichigo was so fond of Chad was that he was so different from everyone else he interacted with. He was calm and stoic, the polar opposite of his father. He was tall and imposing, the polar opposite of the tiny Oriheim. He was good company. Of course, he had his own quirks. Chad liked cute animals. Chad liked soft music, poppy trash as Ichigo called it, rather than the heavy material Ichigo preferred. Chad, similar to Oriheim, liked stuffed animals. At one point, after Ichigo introduced them, they were actively trading stuffed animals, something the berryhead tried to wipe clean from his memory banks. But Sado was his most trusted friend. He could trust him with anything. He could trust him with everything. And that was enough. This is an apartment in a similar price range as your last one, Oriheim, Tatsuki said, and the landlord seemed nice enough. If you say yes today, we can have the stuff moved on while you're away, Ichigo said. Oriheim looked down. But Dash. Sora would like this. Don't let him affect this. I guess it's nice. Ichigo and Tatsuki smiled. Ichigo said, just make sure you send a letter to your aunt, okay? I'll go get the paperwork. Cayman, Ichigo asked, staring into the blank nothingness that plagued his nights. What exactly are you? The mask, now adorned with a fourth red stripe, paused. Cayman responded, why does it matter to you? Completely, and even though you say that you are my Kudo, you don't resemble one. What are you trying to
ले
say?
चला चला
Where did you come from? Why are you here?
चला
Cayman floated toward Ichigo's face. Ask your parents. Why? They might provide a few answers. Parents. They. Why do you keep doing that?
उसको नेल लगाने दे जमरा
That my mother died 7 years ago. How the hell am I going to ask her anything? Cayman appeared to be grinning. Oh, that I don't know, the mask said. She may not be that far away dash.
बाबा
Ichigo's
फ्यूचर
eye burst open. as his
इंश्योरेंस
body
ले परमा
snapped
से
forward. His body shivered violently, as if he was going to throw up. What was
परमा
that?
फर्स्ट पर्सन मोड पे जा अभी
With a
बाबा को मार
grunt, he forced himself out of the bed, and walked to the bathroom. Son of a
अरे वो
Cayman,
ट्रक
where
भाग
is
रहा है
she?
जो भी है वो भाग रहा
Why
है
would I know where she is? Ichigo, the Zanpakuto spirit said.
दिखा रहा है ना
He
ये
merely
ले
hinted
तो
that she's around somewhere. She might be, too. The Grand Fisher killed her. It should be impossible for her spirit to be around. Should be. God, quit with the puzzles. Just tell me something. I have no information to give you. However, I can still feel her, sometimes. Ichigo looked into the sink. This isn't helping. The morning came too quickly for
लिटिल टिक
Ichigo.
मार रहा है
Getting back to sleep was impossible. So he thought it best to get some last-minute work done. Onie-chan. Yuzu rang, entering his room. Breakfast is ready. It's not much, but we have to leave soon. Ichigo nodded, and grabbed his bags. You and Karen all packed, he asked. Yuzu nodded vigorously. Good. Let's go eat.
ठोक दिया
Ichigo and his sisters.
ठोक दिया वो बंद
Ichigo had an odd relationship with his sisters. He loved his sisters like no other. Whenever they had a problem, he would do anything he could to help them. He absolutely loved spending
ये भी
time with
ठोक
them,
दिया
but they were far too reliant on him. Weaning them off of him was impossible. Yuzu did her best to
खत्म हो
please
जाएगा
him,
रे
while Karen did her best in not trying to worry him. But still, the first time the extreme closeness was made apparent to him was the second
अरे
time
भाई
at
वो
Tatsuki over,
वही
when
बाबा
Yuzu
चल
was being
जल्दी
extra defensive, and Karen was being extra cautious.
अरे
At first,
बाजू में आ
he
गए
thought it was the recent death of their mother, combined with natural female rivalries that he could never understand, nor want to, because women are confusing creatures, and understanding them do nothing but cause unnecessary stress to him. But it really reared its ugly head when they took a trip with him to Inoue's
बट तेरा
apartment.
देखा कौन सा गाड़ी था
Chad,
खटारा
what
गाड़ी
time
लेके
does
आ
the
रहा
movie start? Ichigo said, talking into his phone.
घंटे का तेरे से
It
कुछ
starts
हो
at
रहा
1, the giant said. Ichigo sighed. DMN, that's pretty early. Couldn't you find a dash, he started, before he was interrupted by the office phone. Ichigo blinked. Chad, I'll see you tomorrow. 1, you said. Yeah. Click. Ichigo
बाबा क्या कर रहा है?
ended phone calls. Sighing, the orange-haired teen walked into the office, and lazily picked up the phone. Kurosaki family health. This is Kurosaki Ichigo
बाबा
speaking,
क्या
he
नकल
said,
है
in an almost
ले
eerily
तोड़
flat
दिया
tone. The
दूसरा
practitioner
गाड़ी
is
ले
currently
अभी
not in. May I take a message? A familiar squeak was heard. Inoue.
ड्राइवर ही इतना
Calling this
अच्छा है
line for, he asked, slightly concerned, are you hurt? I don't know much, but I can help. That I
अरे
can't
हाइस्ट
help
करना
myself.
था रे
You
अच्छा
don't need tea to be worried, she
एक
answered.
मयूर आया नहीं ना नफला
Ichigo grabbed a phone guide from underneath the desk. You wouldn't be calling if it wasn't severe.
आगे
Now,
वाला लेते
I'm going to ask some questions, Ichigo said, calmly. If you don't feel comfortable
ऊंचा
answering
डायलॉग
a question, just tell me to go to the next question. Understand.
क्या गाड़ी है
Why, yes.
बाबा ने क्या गाड़ी
Good.
ढूंढा है एकदम
Question 1. When did the injury occur? About 2 minutes ago. Question 2. Was the injury self-inflicted? Oh no. It was an accident. Good. Now, we can move. To question 3. Is the wound still bleeding? Why yes, she answered timidly. Ichigo nodded, as he checked off on the guy.
अबे उससे
How
मिलने का है
severe is the blood loss?
बंडी
It's
मारने
not
का
too
अरे
bad.
कर्मा किधर रुका है भगा ना
Do you believe you may have cut a
मार मार
vein?
मार मार
I don't think
अरे
so.
बाप रे क्या कर दी इधर
I don't know how to tell, though. Oh, you would know.
रुका रुका रुका
Have you applied
अरे
pressure
रुका
to the wound?
हम
Yes. Good.
इधर भाग रहा है
Question 3.
वापस बाजू में ले रहा है अरे इधर भी है इधर भी है
Ah, I don't think so. You don't have to worry.
ये मुंह पे
I think a band-aid will
फेंक
fix
फेंक
this.
फेंक अरे फेंक
I'm just running precautions, Ichigo said, grabbing a pack
पर
of
मैं
gauze
अपने
from
को
the
clap
supply
कर देगा।
closet. Okay, since you don't need medical help, I'm not going to get an ambulance, okay?
बाबा
Okay.
खुद भी गया
Question 4. Where on your body did the injury take place? UH.MY wrist. Which wrist?
अरे कौन था ये
My left one. Okay. And last question. I
This
need you
small
to
left
describe
को मारा
how
मैं।
painful the injury is.
स्मॉल लेफ्ट
Please describe the injury as concisely as possible. A slight pause. UNDIT hurts, but it's not too painful. But it does hurt, right?
अरे टाइम लिमिट है
Why
चल दूसरे जगह
ESDIT
चल
does. Alright,
होटल जाना है
I will be over in a couple of minutes. You don't need to come over. Oriheim
अरे चलो
panicked. I am
ओए
fine. It's not a big deal.
टाइम लिमिट है
Of course I have to come over.
मारने का भी
It would be
दूसरे
downright
जगह जाना
negligent
चल
of me to not come. I'm bringing
पकड़
Yuzu
लिया।
and Karen with me, as I am sure I need another female watching over me, so no illegal
Take
medical
Baba
acts take
टीएड के साथ क्यों
place. You can accommodate 3, right?
टीम लाइन
But,
जीरो मारा
but it's not clean. I
क्या
have
पता
to
बाबा
clean
ही
the
मरा
blood
रहे हो
up
पता
and the
गाड़ी से
broken
कूद गया था
glass, and then I don't have enough time.
अरे ये बेवड़े
I'm sure the cut isn't too bad. In no way, please stop. I'll have to prepare snacks too. I'm sorry, but if you come over now, I
एक ही
don't think
मिनट है
that
चल
would
जल्दी
give you a
चल
good impression of my living conditions. In no way, please stop. And I'm dash. In no way. Ichigo said, sharply, please stop.
कुछ हुआ ही नहीं उसको
We're coming over. It does not matter how your place looks. I promise you that you will not be the worst apartment our humble business has visited. Now, keep pressure on the wound. We will be over in a couple of minutes. Oh okay, she said, worry steady in her voice.
इंडिकेटर नहीं
Ichigo
दिया
chuckled.
मेरी गलती नहीं
Alright. See you. Don't hurt yourself any further, he said, with a grin, alright picturing her flustered overreaction to his comment.
अबे दूर है
Maybe
टाइम
by Kei Kurosaki-kun, she stammered. Hanging up the phone, Ichigo walked out of the
ये
office
जाड़े गाड़ी को
and
कुछ
into
होता
the
ही नहीं
living
है
room, where Karen was sitting, watching TV. Hey, where's Yuzu? In our room. Why?
इधर ठोकरा में मार देना
Karen said,
40 सेकंड ही होता है
we're taking a trip. In no way cut herself, so I would like if you two were to coming with me. Really? Why isn't she coming over here? She called us. That clearly means that she's not feeling like she can make a trip here.
अबे
Why don't you call Dad and get him to do it?
मारकर चला गया चले
Oh, what a grand
अरे
idea.
उधर है ना
Except I have no
अंदर है
idea where he's at, and some needs to get over there before the bleeding gets worse.
इधर 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 फेंक फेंक लेट
Stop
अरे भाई
complaining.
ग्लिच हो गया अरे परमा
In no way, we're here, Ichigo said. A few seconds of silence, before a very pale Oriheim opened the door, timidly.
भाई दोनों मर गया क्या
Ichigo narrowed his
टाइमर गया
eyes. God, you are pale.
ये रेड है
Show me
रेड
the
है
cut. Oriheim
मेरा
looked
तो रेड है
around, before slowly removing the bloodied rag from her wrist, revealing a deep, but small cut. Ichigo tilted his head. I think this won't require stitches, but I'll have my father look at this. Yuzu, could you get me some water? Okay. Yuzu said, Inoue-chan. You look so pale. Are you dehydrated?
ये हेवी शील्ड लिया तो
I
जल्दी
don't
कर
know. Probably. You didn't lose a lot of blood, but you look exhausted, Ichigo said. The wound doesn't seem to be bleeding anymore. I'm going to put a bandage on it. Ichi and are you going to clot the cut? Karen asked.
इधर अबे ये
Ichigo shrugged. It's deep, but I don't think I
हेल्थ क्यों
have
नहीं
to.
बढ़ रहा है
I'm just going to wrap it, and make sure she doesn't get any more pale. Oni-chan, when are we going back home?
बात कर
Yuzu asked.
क्या
Ichigo, drinking a soda, shrugged. Depends on when our lovable father clears Inoue. Seeing that he isn't here yet, We're staying here for a while, Ichigo said. Why are you doing this? The question took the orange-haired teen aback. What do you mean? You were never this proactive before. Normally you would just call daddy, and let him take care of everything. Inoue is a friend. Inoue lives nearby. She, if I may remind you, was also bleeding, and when we arrived, was incredibly pale, and in pretty bad shape. What else was I supposed to do? Not show favoritism, she said, quietly. Ichigo blinked. I bet are you jealous? Ichigo asked. Yuzu turned a burning red. And no I am, she said, harshly. I just wondered why you care so much. You never did this before. That I'm sorry that you feel this way. I'll try and be more proactive in the future. But since Inoue wasn't going to the hospital, someone needed to be here. Yuzu frowned, and sat at the table. What was that all about? I guess we're the first here. That's cool, I guess. Ichigo said, before spotting familiar, yet unwelcome red hair. Oh no, he said, oh no. Oh no. What's ring, Onyai-chan? Yuzu said. Stay here. Ichigo dropped his bag, and walked toward the figure. You, what are you doing here? Oh me, Hansho Chizuru said, with a smirk on her face, what do you mean? Who told you? Haim-chan did, she said, dreamily. Why? I wanted to see if she wanted to go out with me today, and she said you all would go to Fukushima for a week, and... No. Go away. I already paid for my ticket, Ichigo. I will rip out your FNG tongue if you ever call me that again, Hansho. Go away, Ichigo growled. Oh, you're so mean to me. Don't do it. Fine, that's so dash. No. We went from 4 to 8 overnight, and now we have to double up in the rooms. We don't have room for another. Your sister's dash. Say another word, and I will break your legs. I wasn't going to say anything naughty, too naughty. Oh God, how was there a time where I ever considered you a friend? Ichigo said, shaking his head, you bother my sisters and your fate will be swift. You already know what Tetsuki will do to you, if you mess with Inoue. Of course. It's part of the fun. What I will hand out will be twice as painful. Do not test me. Where is it? Hayato said, staring into a rock pattern. The design wasn't very detailed, yet there were significant clues that would lead him in the right directions. Whatever you are looking for, you won't find it in hell, a tall, blonde man with long hair said, cease this pointless chase. Jugram Hashwal, what would you be doing here? The blind Quincy said, with a smirk. I still wonder why you never chose to join us in the Wandenrake, Jugram said. Hayato scoffed. Why would I follow the man responsible for Saki's death? You think I'm an idiot? For not following us in our noble crusade? Yes, I do. Humph, of course you wouldn't understand, Jugram. You never could. Chapter 23, Black Hole Sun. Due to my insane kindness, we have a couple of changes coming to our room arrangement. Ichigo said, rubbing his forehead, whatever, Yuzu, Karen are moving to my room. Hansho and Chad now share my sister's old room. Tatsuki and Inoue, Mizuiro AMD Kigo, you all still share rooms. Why do I have dash, Chizuru started. Silence. Any problems? Actually dash, Mizuiro started. None. Good. Let's go, Chad. Where are you going? Tatsuki asked. Fireworks. And we need another bed because we had an unwelcome guest, Ichigo said. Someone needs to do this. So, the orange-haired teen and Sato left the house, stilling the house. You know, for a Quincy, Hayato said, as 3 Blues sword revolved around him, you're pretty good with a sword. Hashwolf narrowed his eyes. Can't we resolve this without conflict, he said. The blind Quincy grinned. This is as peacefully as it goes, he said, but, truly, is this a conflict? I haven't even drawn my bow. This is ridiculous. You should have just dashed, Hashwalt said. As
एक मिनट के अंदर टारगेट के पास पहुंचना रहता.
Hayato grinned. Oops.
अरे बाबा शॉर्टकट लेता ना डायरेक्ट.
Before creating another blade of spiritual particles. The blonde gripped his sword tightly. Despite whatever you may think, you won't be able to resist our holy purge. The blind
सामने वाला गाड़ी देते.
Another purge. This time, I would hope you won't go after your own kind, wantonly. If the Quincy dash. Don't give me that hole, Quincy's got to be pure bullshit. If you wanted to be pure, you would have contacted me. Yawatch is just butthurt over the repeated jail cycles and the justified genocide. And you call yourself a Quincy? Hashwolf asked. I don't call myself a Quincy. I am the Quincy. I am what Quincy were. I am the perfection the Quincy sought. And the only holy purge is going to be my own. A white bow, with black accents grew from Hayato's hands. The swords around him turned white. But I'll humor you, Jugran, he said, grinning. I'll show you my bow, as I begin my own purge. Chad, I have a question. Ichigo said, sitting on a bench. The dark-skinned male turned his head. After we saved Rukia, did you feel that like the mission was done?
बाबा बाजू में बाबा बाजू में.
Something felt that off that AS if he would be set up. Something has been on the back of my mind. What that Aizen guy was planning, it seemed to be disrupted by something. It was bigger than us. Chad. The whole story wasn't told. There was a third party, and they won. Who? Ichigo sighed. I don't know that they'll make their appearance soon. Are you sure? They have to. Aizen is still out there. They need to cover their buttes. Sato was taken aback. What do you mean?
चल next time मेरा गाड़ी मंगा के रखता हूँ.
Conspiracy to take Aizen out. Ichigo shook his head. Not to take Aizen out. He's just another piece in the puzzle. Whoever is leading this revolution is trying to get rid of the former captain. I don't know why. Ichigo, what's next? We do nothing. We are not allies of the Shinigami. We are not going to fight their battles. Unless Aizen, or this third party messes with one of us, we aren't doing it. I guess I can follow that. Yeah, you can. Now, let's hit those fireworks. Yuryu sat, alone in his room, staring at his hands. His empty, powerless hands. Sighing, he wondered what he could do. He couldn't go to his father. He couldn't go to the shopkeeper. He was Inoue-san. She could help. She could possibly restore his powers. Dialing her number into a house phone, he, full of hope, placed the phone by his ear, and frowned as it went to her messages. Where would she be? He asked, audibly. She might be at Arisawa-san's house, but he didn't have her number. He could call Kurosaki. Grimacing, he dialed in the redhead's number and let it ring thrice. This is Kurosaki Ichigo speaking, the voice said, in a casual manner. Who is this? It's me, Yuri. Oh. What's up, Quincy? Do you know where Inoue-san is? Nah, I have no idea where she is. For what reason are you asking? Ichigo asked, slyly. Ooh, do tell. It's important. How important? It's important. Oniai-chan. Who are you dash, Yuzu started, walking into the bedroom. Ichigo silenced her, by waving his finger. Sorry, Ishida. I don't know where she is. Try calling her. She's not home. Try calling her cell phone. She has a cell phone. My old one.
बाबा next गाड़ी के लिए रुक अभी मैं कुरुमा ही मंगाता हूँ एक साथ ही जाते हैं फिर.
So can I go to sleep?
अरे पर एक मिनट का टाइम लिमिट रख.
No. Bye, now. Ichigo was not a morning person.
रुक जा बाबा रुक जा कुरुमा ही लेता हूँ.
He hated waking up.
जाके एक्टिवेट कर देता था
He hated staring in the mirror, making sure he didn't look like crap.
वर्मा तू चले जाना
He hated eating breakfast, as it just made him want to back to sleep. Unfortunately, his sisters were morning people. And unfortunately, Yuzu had a habit of waking him up when he was trying to sleep. Oniai-chan, what do you want for breakfast?
I'll get there as soon as I
Yuzu
can.
asked, with a big smile. Ichigo opened one of his eyes. Sleep, he answered, bluntly, shutting the eye. Yuzu sighed. I'm serious. As am I, leave. Oniai-chan.
ये मत
Come on.
एक्टिवेट मत कर दिखता
Let's
नहीं है
go.
रास्ता
Ichigo growled, but still got out of bed. And I thought you all wouldn't be the first up. Silly me. Ichigo said, as Yuzu and Oriheim scrambled around the kitchen, as Karen sat beside him. Well, we are early risers, Ichi and I, Karen said, you knew that. But did you have to drag me into this? Stop complaining, Ichigo, Tatsuki said, wearing a gray sweatsuit. Ichigo rose an eyebrow. Where are you going? He asked.
ये किधर से वो ये किधर से
For a run.
अरे आज
Gotta stay in shape. Ichigo shook his head.
अरे आ जाओ आ
You
गया मैं
take this crap too seriously.
आगे जा
Hashwolf walked through the ice palace, extremely displeased with the
Aja
previous
कौन है?
day's finds.
अरे आ जा बाबा
Yes, Hayato was alive, but he was unwilling to join their cause. Made worse by the fact that he may be even stronger than he was already was. This
अरे
wasn't
बाबा
good for the
ठोक मत
woman.
ना
They still
बाबा
had no
ठोक
idea
मत
where the Irminsul was, and they had an inkling that it was the opposite for the blind Quincy. They had no idea what the blinded Quincy
मैं
was
थोड़ी
planning.
आगे था तुम तीनों दोनों
He
आगे
had
थे
nothing of much worth to show.
एक्टिवेट हो गया
Despite a nagging headache, Ichigo was actively trying to hang with his friends. Of course, he was irritated, but that was to be expected. He was
अरे
having
आ जा
fun
रे अभी
though.
पूर्णिमा में आ जाओ
Ichigo,
जब
Kigo said, what exactly made you want to do this?
हाँ ना
Ichigo shrugged. Kindness of my heart, he answered, flatly, I don't know. Well, it
बाबा
was
ऐसा
certainly
मुझे ना
nice of you,
पूर्णिमा में
his
आएगा ही
hero
नहीं
said.
कभी
The redhead rolled his eyes.
छोड़ अभी
A slight tremor rang inside his head, prompting
पर तू
Ichigo
कभी
to
आता ही
slow
नहीं
his
है
walking pace.
आता है ना
Came
इतना
in.
टाइम से खेल रहा करूँगा
I felt it, Captain.
घंटा
What the hell was that?
तेरे साथ ही खेल
Cayman asked. I don't know, but it felt familiar. Ishida clan, a 10-year-old Hayato said, looking at a letter, addressed for his sister, why does one
अकेले जा
son
रहा है
have to go? His father, Kurosaki Hideaki, looked his son in the eyes, sadly. Unfortunately, to ensure the purity of the Quincy race, Masaki
Hey,
has been
one-seater
chosen to be
है,
the bride for Ishida Soken's son. Hayato blinked. But that isn't fair. Hideaki closed his eyes, and rubbed his son's head. I know, but sometimes we have to do things that we don't like, because it is important. Hayato frowned. What's so important about the Quincy race? We are a proud race. We cannot allow our kind to die out. For what? And this is my little brother, Hayato. He's a talented Quincy too, Masaki said, grinning nervously. Hayato glared at the white-haired teen. Moody, isn't he? Ryukin said. He's just upset that I'm leaving. Hayato looked over at the maid, a young girl
बाबा
with
शॉर्टकट
black
ले
hair,
टाइम
wrapped into a large, tight bun. He narrowed his eyes. Who's the half-breed? He said. The maid flinched, as Masaki and Ryukin's eyes grew wide. Hayato. Masaki. Scolded, why would you ask that? For a family so concerned on preserving the purity of the Quincy race, it's kinda weird to have a half-breed hanging around, Hayato said. At least you are only half of the problem. Halt, a guard shouted. Hayato did as he was ordered, and the guard began to check him. Do you have the proper authority to be here? He asked. Hayato shrugged. Probably not, he said. I need to see Kurosaki Masaki. I know she goes
आगे
here.
बैठा है आगे
Just tell me where she is, and there won't be any issues. Are you threatening me, boy? Oh no, the big bad cop is scaring me. Stupid punk, what is that? The guard asked, eyeing a black box, strapped to the inside of the Quincy's coat. Hayato rolled his eyes. Oh no, he said, in a mocking tone, don't
अरे
touch it.
एंगल देना.
It may go off. A bomb, the guard shouted, grabbing the box. Hayato chuckled. Wow, you really
मर
are
गया मर गया.
stupid, he said.
अरे मेरे को एक
I was
मैसेज
planning
दिया
on
कोई.
throwing
कैसा
this at you.
मैसेज भेजता है इस पे?
The guard blinked,
GTA
feeling
पे.
the lost in control in
कोई
his
तो
body.
मैसेज भेजा मुझे.
What's going on? He asked. Oh, it's just that I'm in control of your soul, my friend. And unfortunately, you have really set me off, with your authoritative display. Motioning his fingers, he forced the man to grab his holstered pistol, and hold it to his temple. WWA.
कौन है? चूरन है क्या तेरा?
I have a dash, the man cried.
अरे क्या कर रहा है
before a
बाबा?
gunshot snuffed him out.
ट्रैफिक हो गया.
His body fell limply to the ground, blood oozing out of the fresh wound. Oh, were you going to
परवा
tell
का
me that
फ्यूज
you
उड़
have
गया
a
लगता
family?
है.
अबे
Hayato
मारना
said,
तो उसको
darkly.
क्या
Too bad.
अरे इतना बड़ा ट्रैफिक
They'll get along without you.
ब्रेक नहीं क्या?
Walking into her dorm room, Kurosaki Masaki sighed heartily, knowing that she could finally get some rest. Which was false, because she had a report to do, but whatever. She could do that later. Hello, Masaki, Hayato said. Masaki squeaked, dropping her books
क्या
onto the
कर रहा है
floor.
बाबा?
H. Hayato. What are you doing here? She asked. What's the matter? Don't want to see me? Too busy with your Quincy bullshit to bother with me? No. I mean that I left them a couple of years ago. Hayato blinked. Oh, that's just wonderful, he said, voice deep, absolutely wonderful. I'm happy for you. Thanks for never coming back, but hey, at least you're not getting FA'd by some pretentious Quincy family who your only value to them is to spawn babies. Hayato. Are you going to tell me that I'm wrong? You didn't even come back when Dad died. Masaki blinked, in confusion. Dad died, she said.
बाबा घुसा दे. अरे कुरुमा घुसा दे उधर ही.
You didn't know, he said. Why a Fenji course you didn't know? Why would they distress their royal egg donor with useless sheep like your parents dying? Oh man, these are some swell folks.
टारगेट के पास
Shaking his
जाना.
head, Hayato grabbed a handful of his red hair. How did he die? Masaki asked, quietly. Hayato clenched
मर गया
his
मर
fist.
गया.
Killed by some Shinigami, looking for some Quincy. Never found me, fortunately. Where did you go? Hell. I doubt the Shinigami would look for a Quincy in hell.
आवा तू पागल है ये.
But I
समझा कि
don't
मैंने
know.
गाड़ी फोड़ दिया तू.
They aren't actively seeking, because they haven't found you, I guess.
जो भी था वो.
Whatever, that isn't why I
क्या
came
मैं
here.
थोड़ी उसको फोड़ा. मैं तो गैस
Then why
टैंक
did you
फोड़ा.
come here?
तो वही तो गैस
Masaki asked, eyes red,
अरे
stinged with the tears she refused
अरे
to
यार
let go of.
ये क्या है?
Well, this is probably the last time we meet, Hayato said, bluntly.
मेरे को पता नहीं वो गैस टैंक के उधर
Well,
है.
this is it. You got anything
नहीं,
important you
नहीं,
want to tell me? That I'm
अबे
getting
गैस टैंक
married.
के उधर तू क्यों क्या खाया?
Off NG-tastic.
उसको टोक रहा था मैं.
Off 1D dash, and on to
Nice.
the other. Hayato, it's not dash.
उसके ना बोल रहा था
Joking.
परमा आ जा एक साथ जाते हैं.
Just letting go of some
Mama,
anger,
देख लिया था
Hayato
मैंने,
said.
इसलिए
You know
मैं
what?
गया.
It's not anger. Just frustration.
टेरेंस.
Now, I guess
अच्छा
I
ये
will
टेरेस
bid you
वाला है ना.
goodbye,
जाओ तुम लोग
Masaki.
करो. मैं गाड़ी
Have a
में
nice
बैठता हूँ.
wedding, have lots of babies, live long and cherish. A portal opened behind Hayato, which he began to
गाड़ी
walk
चला रहा हूँ.
toward. And, I forgot to mention, but you have grown into a beautiful woman, Masaki. Shame such beauty was wasted on a Quincy that I love you, Masaki, and I will miss you forever, but sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do, because they are important. Remember that. The portal closed, and Masaki fell to her knees.
Morse Mutual.
I dot Hayato.
We're here to help.
Kurosaki-kun.
I'll do my best.
Oriheim said. Ichigo turned to face her, with a knowing expression on his face. If you are wondering about that thing we felt, it's probably nothing that revolves us, he said, don't stress it too much. But, it felt odd to you too. Like it was familiar. Ichigo paused. It felt familiar to you. Oriheim nodded. Ichigo cupped his chin, in thought. Let's go get Chad. It felt familiar, Sato said, simply. Ichigo shook his head. Do we know where the pulse came from? Oriheim asked. somewhere inside the city. Ichigo replied, but it didn't last long enough to track. Maybe we can try to look for it. Sato said. I doubt it was anything major. But still, something was trying to get us to worry, and that isn't good. Oh, hell butterfly, Hayato said, large
अरे
grin
मारो
on his
तुमको
face.
तुम लोग मिला नहीं ना उसके
You
लिए
allow me to see. And unfortunately, I see that the young Quincy isn't with them.
पापा नपला है
For shame that if the memory charm worked, I could rid myself of the princess, and maybe the dot thing that is my nephew, but whatever.
अरे ये
Hayato sat on the ground, and scratched his chin.
नीचे वाले लोग को
Approaching the
मारता
idiot now
हूँ
would be a death sentence, maybe. He suddenly leaped back onto his feet, and plucked a whistle from one of his many coat pockets. Nix, Kerberos, he called, after giving the whistle a firm blow, we have some work to do. Two demons, one appearing to be a dog, with bony spikes protruding from the top of his head, all the way to his tail, and a large, purple moth appeared. Hayato, looked at his hell butterfly, smiling. Now, I wonder when we can strike. Chapter 24, I disappear. Are you serious, Asano? Ichigo said, arms crossed. Kigo waved his arms, frantically, screaming, it'll be fun Ichigo. It looks pretty dangerous,
मदद लगा तो
Mizuiro said,
फिर
looking into
बुला
his
पड़ता
phone. You aren't even looking. Hey, Tatsuki, Ichigo called, downstairs, how's the waters looking? A slight pause, before a burst of thunder boomed. Not too good, she replied. So, hypothetically, say if Kigo suggested we all get a boat, and sail today, what would you say to that? Another slight pause. I would say that plan is red dead. Thanks for your input. Ichigo. IT won't be that bad. Kigo whined. We'll die out there. Besides, none of us have boating experience. Mizuiro scoffed, earning him a glare from Ichigo. Silence. Anyway, where are we getting this unlimited
जाऊँ
budget
क्या
from?
मैं भी
I don't have the money to rent out a boat for a day. We could dash. Go ahead. Ask them to pool in money. Go do it, friend. Think of the boat. I will. Kigo shouted, storming out the room. Ichigo shook his head. It's like you don't want to get a boat, Ichigo, Mizuiro said. Ichigo narrowed his eyes.
भाई मैं मर जाएगा
Oh, it would be fun. 9 folks, on a boat. Not doing anything. Just on a boat, to be on a boat. Woo! Way to be negative, Ichigo. Ichigo shrugged, grinning. It's kinda my thing. Rain. It's the absolute worst. Rain had a mystical effect to make you reflect on
इधर
all the
आवाज आ रहा है
crappy
क्या?
things in your life, and make you feel terrible. Despite this,
पीछे साइड
Ichigo
से है क्या
didn't mind
रास्ता?
the rain. Despite his mother's death taking place in the rain, despite Inoue's brother's death being on a rainy day, and despite the day he threw away the rest of his humanity being in the middle of a downpour, he still knew it wasn't the rain's fault, it was cliché. And
भाई
it was
आग
still
क्या
raining.
स्प्रेड हो रहा है अबे भाई पूरा
For
आगे
hours,
आगे
the rain refused to stop. It had practically ruined the day. You staring out the window isn't going to make the rain stop, Tatsuki said. Ichigo rolled his eyes. I like to think, Tatsuki, he said, I'm sorry if this is disturbing you in any way. What do you have planned for the rest of the day? Ichigo sighed. Nothing much, what about you? Movie night. Ichigo smiled slightly.
छूटे बैठा
Horror. Maybe. Count me in. She's gonna die, Ichigo said, dead of tone. She should have left when she had the chance. But if she
Why?
left, then Haru-chan would have been
Achha,
lost inside
ऊपर।
the factory forever.
एक नीचे
Oriheim said. Ichigo
दिख ही नहीं
chuckled.
रहे थे
Well, poor dog. You would just leave her. Sato said.
शॉर्ट अरे
To be
टॉर्च का भी
fair,
रेंज है
Sato-kun, it is just a dog, Mizuiro said. You can always just buy another one, Kigo said. Ichigo chuckled once more. Nice to see my friends are just as pragmatic as I am, he said. I don't know about that, Ichigo, Tatsuki said. You take the word psychopath as far as the definition can go. What do you know? Don't deny it, Ichi dash. Don't say it.
धड़कन है उसको
A ear-piercing shriek shattered the
कहाँ है
room's
कहाँ है कहाँ
atmosphere
है
and replaced it with silence.
जा जा
Until
जा,
Ichigo celebrated, throwing his hands into the air, and belting out, called it. How predictable,
बाबा क्या मर गया
Sato said. Poor Haruchan.
देखा इसको क्लैप किया
Orheim
बाबा
said, sadly. That was fun. Ichigo
देखा
said,
इसको
how
clap
about
कर
another
दिया।
one? Ryukin, we dash. Kurosaki, we don't have time to talk casually, the white-haired Quincy said,
बाबा नीचा
it's about my son. Oh, what happened? Ishin asked. He
पर मैं गाड़ी
activated
लेना
his
है ना
let's
तो वो
style.
फोन में जाके
His
ब्राउजर में
immaturity with
जाके
his
देखो।
powers
गाड़ी
cost
यही
him.
जो था ना 1 सीटर
Let's style.
अच्छा
Okay, so what can I do about it? Find Hayato. Help me end him. He is going to target my son,
चल
and
दूसरा
maybe
लगाता
even your
हूँ
own.
रुक मेरे को
For
कैमरा
what?
लगाने दे पहले
Ryukin sighed, and plucked a cigarette from his
हाँ
pocket.
ये रखता हूँ
Rebuilding
पैसा
Himmelskammer.
ले दे भाई मिशन
The Quincy lit his smoke, and took a long drag from it. Ishin blinked. Himmelskammer.
नहीं रे
I thought that was just
मजा
a
आता है ना
myth.
उसके लिए नहीं करना है क्या मिशन
Unfortunately, it isn't. And Hayato is leader in the
हाँ
chase.
मेरे को थोड़ा कस्टमाइज
We can stop him, right?
ठीक है मैं भी टाइम पास करके
Ishin
आया
asked.
इनवाइट ओनली सेशन
We can't, if he gets another Quincy.
हाँ बुलाता हूँ
Or if the Wandenrake attacks soon. DMN it. Ryukin took another drag from his cigarette. If Masaki was still here, then maybe. Stop it.
भेजा देख
Hayato is a psychopath. Nothing she could do would stop him. What's the matter,
बाद में
Ryukun?
सोशल पे आ जा
Hayato asked, why won't you help me? Return purity to the Quincy lineage. Ryukin shook his head. There is no way I help you. Himmelskammer is a lost dream.
मेरे को आया था पुलिस लोग
Hayato's
पीछे पड़
smile
गया
grew. Then why would the Wandenrake be building toward it? They're not idiots, you know. Ryukin clenched his fists. Are you going to try and fight me, Ryukun? Where's your half-breed bodyguard? Ryukin narrowed his eyes. Her name is Katajiri Kane. I expect you to show her some respect, he growled, she's a fellow Quincy. Yeah, but still, Hayato said, I would never seen the day where a pure Quincy as yourself would stick up for a stain on the breed like her. A racier arrow flew past his ear. Say another word about her, Ryukin said, angrily, I'll make it quick. Hayato shook his head softly. How ironic. The last of your kind, smitten with a mongrel. Ryukin, having enough, fired another arrow, which Hayato blocked with his forearm, effortlessly. Didn't even have to use my blood venet, disappointing. Ryukin blinked, in confusion. How did you block my attack? Hayato shrugged. I don't know. I haven't even activated my complete racier dominance, yet, disappointing. Another arrow, this one striking Hayato true in the back of his neck. The Quincy in black sighed. Well, hello there Kane, he said, have you been well, my friend? The maid glared at him. I'm fine. Ishida-sama, are you hurt? She asked. I'm not. Ryukin knocked an arrow. You're outnumbered, he said, leave now.
You need something, huh?
Hayato laughed.
Let me know.
You threaten me. How humorous. I still need to right some wrongs committed by your family, Ryukuen. Don't make me get violent. We're not moving. Hayato grinned. Great, he said, smashing the ground,
तुम लोगों को टाइम
sprouting
लगेगा
blue
क्या
swords to rise from the ground, splitting the duo up. With little haste, Hayato summoned a sword to his hands, and started walking toward Ryukin.
तो फिर
The
मैं
white
थोड़ा
haired Quincy scoffed
फूड्स
as he
डिलीवर करके
fired a
आता हूँ
volley of arrows at the Quincy in black, but Hayato deflected every single arrow gunning for him. Kane, trying to disturb his tempo, fired a powerful arrow from his blind side. However, a blue aura of energy burst from the ground, absorbing the arrow. You tried, at least, Hayato said, it didn't work, but you tried. Kane backed away, slowly. Are you afraid of me, little girl? Wise thinking, mutt. Ryukin clenched his fist, as he burst with energy. I have had enough of you, he said, as a wing sprouted from his right shoulder, I'll end this now. Will you, Ryukuen? Hayato asked, having to resort to let style to defeat little ol' me. That's not good, Quincy. Not good at all. Shaking his fiery red hair, a white bow, with black highlights, sprouted from Hayato's hand. But I'll appease you, friend. I'll give you a look at my bow. Ryukin stared the unusually colored bow. What is that thing? He asked. Proof that true purity once existed. Nothing can be more pure than me. A white bow, where did you obtain such power? Kane asked. Hayato rolled his eyes. In the pursuit of knowledge, I found the way to purify any soul, even ones completely submerged in the darkness. I hold the power of balance in my hand, something the Quincy had been getting away from. Balance? What the hell are you talking about? Your arrows are dripped in humanity. I can smell it. Darkness strings your bow. I am the herald of the lost age, the one with perfection balance. Before Yawatch eliminated the old, and countered the light-wielding Shinigami, why do you think Himmelskammer disappeared? In the first place. In balance. The Zanpakuto was created by the horseman that represents death to rid the world of balance. Balance is bad for business, but good for me. Balance means that purgatory doesn't exist. Hell doesn't exist. The various soul societies won't exist. Life would be a continuous, endless cycle. Pestilence, death, conquest, war, and famine would be out of a job. The world would be perfect, but still nothing can change. Humanity cannot advance. The soul would stagnate. Nothing. Everything would be the same. True balance would end the growth of the humanity as we know it. The soul was naturally imbalanced in the first place. Of course, it was incomplete with the absence of humanity, so war and death was constant, but after Yawatch's little apocalypse, everything went to hell. Everything was balanced again. Himmelskammer reappeared once more. But nothing was changeable. The soul was at peace. Emotions died. Feelings died. Until the horseman returned the world to its natural state. Then why do you want Himmelskammer? Ryukin roared, nothing would change. Just like you said. Hayato smiled. You still know nothing, young man, he said. Himmelskammer is the goal for the reason. Perfect balance bores me. But, if I can recreate the birth of humanity, maybe, just maybe something would change. The recreating the birth of humanity? Are you insane? Of course. To follow in the footsteps of the Creator and recreate everything, you would have to be insane. Of course I'm insane, but at least I'm active. Let's try something new, my friend. A glorious new beginning. Ryukin narrowed his eyes. You're not actually believing what you are saying. You insane sociopath. Hayato grinned. Ichigo, have you ever felt like you were part of something bigger? Kamen asked. Ichigo shut his eyes. All the time, he said aloud, silently, why do you ask? Ichigo, I am afraid of death. I have always been afraid of death. When you nearly died against Kenpachi, I revealed my power to you. Whenever you were in danger, I gave you my power. But you are going to die. You are going to die early. Kamen, what is this all about? I don't want to disappear, Ichigo. Whatever happens to us, please, don't let us disappear. Ichigo frowned. Disappear, huh? Chapter 25, Long Distance Runaround. Returning to school was not going to be easy. No matter what he did, returning to school would return some semblance of reality to his life. Of course, it's practically impossible for him to return to reality. With the terminal condition he was in, compounded by his amazing powers and insane capabilities, and that he actually had another voice in his head to bother him, returning to the casualness of reality was impossible. Well, it wasn't going to go away if he spent the rest of his days hiding. Yawning, Ichigo stood up, and opened his closet. I guess we have to face this head on, he said. I'm not your crutch, Ichigo, Kamen said, we might be in this together, but you have to shown that you can depend on yourself. Ichigo shook his head. I guess. See you after school, Onie-chan. Yuzu shouted, from the kitchen. Yeah. Have a nice day, Yuzu, Ichigo said, flatly. Isshin, sitting in the living room, sighed, and stood up. Ichigo, he said, sternly, snapping Ichigo out of his morning stupor. Why yeah dad, he said. Isshin crossed his arms. Is there anything you want me to ask me? Ichigo blinked, a bit surprised. No. Not at the moment. Isshin averted his look. Well, anytime you need something, I'll be here. Ichigo nodded, and left the house, silently. I wonder what that was all about, Ichigo said, aloud, to no one. Of course, he thought no one could hear him. Good morning, Kurosaki-kun. Oriheim welcomed him, excitedly, a daily tradition that didn't bother him. In fact, it actually made him feel a lot better. Knowing that someone other than Yuzu actually cared enough to greet him daily, with enthusiasm, helped to ease his running and rampart depression. Good morning, Inoue, Ichigo said, before taking a sip of his coffee. Sato waved silently, as he sat down in his seat. Hey Chad. I guess it's good to be back. Ichigo said. Nix. Kerberos, a ash-gray dog with many black spikes protruding from his body, called out. A large, purple moth unfurled its wings, and glared at the dog. What do you want? Nix said, angrily. We're entering the realm of the living today. We have our targets. Can't we enter at night? The sun hurts my vision. We are entering at night, idiot. Unlike spirits, we can still be seen. We need all the natural cover we can get. Regardless, I doubt anyone will see us. Master Hayato will provide a spiritual cover for us. It only can last for 30 minutes. We need to be quick. Yes. Yes. Find the target. Capture the target. Of course. Be quick. Kerberos snarled, feeling the moth wasn't taking the plan seriously. Nix, if you fail, Master Hayato will not be pleased. I won't be pleased. You may have his mercy, but you won't have mine. Nix scoffed, wrapping herself in her wings. Chad, answer the phone. Ichigo said, sitting at his desk, looking at his phone. After 5 rings, the call went to Sato's voicemail. Ichigo narrowed his eyes. What the hell? There isn't a hollow nearby, he said, before raising an eyebrow. He placed his phone on his desk, and grabbed the stuffed lion taking residence in his closet. What are you doing? Khan cried. Ichigo plucked the mod soul pill out of the toy, and placed it into his mouth. I'll be back. Don't go anywhere. Ichigo jumped out of the window, and burst for Sato's apartment. Khan blinked, before looking out the window, to see if Ichigo was out of sight. Sato, right arm ready, charged Kerberos, who ducked out of the way, snarling. A spiritually aware human. Master Hayato did not tell us of you. Sato clenched his fists. Who is Hayato? Kerberos roared, firing a volley of blue fireballs at him, who evaded each attack. The dog howled, before slamming the ground, creating massive spikes to grow from underneath Sato, cutting his left arm. Tempo disrupted, Kerberos fired another ball of fire, aimed at the giant. Getsuga Tensho. Ichigo shouted, as the crimson streak connected with the fireball. Kerberos turned to face the red head. Oh, you must be Ichigo, the dog demon said. We were told to look out for 2 strong energy sources. We were never told that there would be more. Ichigo and Sato froze. 2. Sato said. Ichigo looked down, confused. Ishida doesn't have any. Chad, go to Inoue. Ichigo shouted. You two aren't going anywhere. Kerberos shouted. The demon charged Ichigo, and tried to gorge him with one of his horns. Ichigo, a bit off guard, with quick haste lifted his blade to protect himself. The dog bounced back, and Ichigo implanted his feet deep into the concrete. Kaburos fired another blast, this one connecting with Ichigo, knocking him off his feet, and across the ground. Focus Ichigo! Kamen screamed. Ichigo rolled back to his feet, sword ready. I am focused. I'll rather not destroy everything right now, though, Ichigo growled, typically when I use your power, crap like that tends to happen. Don't worry about that. Just focus on defeating the enemy. Kerberos, again, charged at Ichigo, who had his blade burning a viscous scarlet. Getsuga Tensho, he shouted, as the red streak exploded off of his sword. Not again. Kerberos growled, sidestepping the blast. The dog prepared to fire off another fireball, before Ichigo appeared next to him. Where are you aiming? He said, before blasting him away, with a thin serum. Instinctively, Sato appeared in the pathway for the flailing dog, delivered a fully charged punch to the ribcage of the demon, knocking it into a wall. Ha, pests! Kerberos, bleeding, climbed out of the crater in the wall, and glared at the two combatants. Hey, Ichigo, Sato said, he doesn't seem too strong. He's not trying, Ichigo said, calmly, he clearly doesn't want me dead. Kerberos chuckled. I think you have proved yourself worthy, he said, I think going all out won't hurt too bad. Ichigo exhaled. Kamen, he said. I can't guarantee the safety of your friend, the hollow mask said. Ichigo shook his head. Now, let's get Dash, the dog demon started, before a streak of fire exploded beneath him. Ichigo and Sato took a step back. What was that? Sato asked. Ichigo looked around, but did not find anyone. Not that it truly mattered, as they had more pressing matters to attend to. Let's go, Chad. Ichigo shouted, running off, not wasting the opportunity. Sato looked back at the flames, and took off after the redhead. Get back here. Kerberos roared, mouth aflame, before a male figure in a Shinigami outfit kicked him in the nose. Silence, he said, after I take out you, I'll go after your master. The dog demon shook his head, and growled. I don't have time to deal with you, he snarled. Then make it. Despite the intense pressure he felt, Yuryu still felt as it was safe to walk to the store. Despite his powerless state, he was still spiritually aware, and he still had tools to protect himself. He was fine. But there was something wrong. He could feel it. It doesn't feel like a hollow, he said, looking around. A street light flickered on and off above the Quincy, halting him. What the, he said, looking around. Nothing. Faulty lighting, he scoffed, walking off. I believe this is better than I could ever imagine. Hayato said, standing on a rooftop, let's see what Nyx can do. There was something severely wrong now. There was something following him now. It wasn't revealing its presence, but it was clearly trailing him. Yuryu quickened his pace. I have to get out of here, he said, as a street light exploded from behind him. Yuryu reached into his pockets, and grabbed a gray cube. Quincy tech won't work on me, a feminine voice said from above. Yuryu looked behind him, and saw a large, purple moth floating behind him. What are you? The Quincy asked. Hello child. Nick said, it is time to go. Yuryu backed away. What is the point of this? There is no reason why you should be fighting this. Without a moment's hesitation, Yuryu launched the cube at the demon, and took off. Nyx flapped her wings, deflecting the device away. Then, it prepared an purple energy ball to fire at the team. Stop running, Nyx said, firing the ball, which was matched by an arrow. What the hell? Yuryu said. Make sure you are aware of what your enemy is doing, Ryukin said, you'll end up dead that way. Ryukin? What are you doing here? Calling me by my given name? How rude. Nyx sighed. I was not expecting this. Master Hayato
क्या
did
हुआ?
not tell us about this.
अगर है मिशन अभी
Ryukin narrowed his eyes.
5
Did he
मिनट
not
रुक,
tell
मेरा
you
एक
about
छोटा
me,
मिशन है
or
वो
did he
कर
not
रहा हूँ,
think that I would not be here?
डिलीवर
Regardless,
करना है।
I'll still make this quick.
वापस आ जा
Ryukin drew an arrow,
क्या
pointed
बता,
straight at the
सर्वर में
demon.
दिखा रहा है।
Same here. Stop. Stop. Hayato said, landing next to Nyx, Ryukun. Why'd you have to ruin this?
मिल ले भाई
Ryukin aimed his bow at the newcomer. How disgusting that you would make you presence here, Ryukin said, calmly. What do you want? A lot, my friend.
तुम लोग इधर
But
बारिश
now,
गिर रहा है क्या?
I'm focused on finding
ये?
another friendly Quincy,
हाँ, मेरे
so
इधर
if you
भी।
may, be gone.
तूफान में अच्छा चल रहा है, उसका
Yuri
डिलीवरी
took a
अच्छा
step
नहीं होगा।
back. It's not ideal, but you are a Quincy, no matter how muddled you are. I can clean you, but it will take some time. What are you taking about? Yuri shouted. Hayato grinned. Impurities, child. Don't fret too much about it. It's not your fault. The blind
तू
Quincy
100 गाड़ी
shook his
उड़ाया
head.
बाबा अब तक।
I suppose you aren't going to make this easy, Ryukun.
इधर लिख क्या है हम लोग?
Leave, Ryukin stated, simply. Hayato chuckled. Of course you weren't, Nyx, get him. With pleasure, the moth said, flapping her wings, pushing both of the Quincy's knack with a massive gust of wind. Ryukin tried to recover, but Nyx rushed him, blasting him with a purple wave. Now, Ishida, it is time for you to realize your destiny. Hayato said, cloak flapping softly in the wind. Yuryu gulped. Come on. We have work to do. Actually, Urahara said, perched on a light, no you don't. He jumped down, landing in front of the Quincy in black, who was not amused. Who are you? He asked, irritated. I would have never believed that there would be so many spiritually aware humans in this town. And now you know. Now, let's end this little game. Hayato grinned. Little game? How laughable, he said, summoning a blue broadsword to his right hand, especially you saying that you are going to end it. Not a chance. Where are we going, Ichigo? Sato asked, keeping pace with the red one. We are first going to Inoue's place, then to Ishida's. Ichigo shouted. No need, Yoruchi said, landing in front of the two. Ichigo and Sato paused. No need. Ichigo said, deeply, what do you mean, no need? There are demons roaming around and we have no idea what they are doing here. Urahara has it under control. Oh, that makes everything okay. Oh wait. No it doesn't. Both Inoue and Ishida are safe. Thanks for telling us. Would like to verify myself, but whatever. Yoruchi-san, what's going on? Sato asked. Someone is controlling them. We don't know much more than that. Ichigo and Sato shared a confused glance. Wait, you really know nothing more? Ichigo said, you have no idea what they want. Because to me, it seems they want me pretty badly. Ichigo, calm down. I am calm. I am just a bit suspicious. Wondering
चल
why
हो
two
गया, लगाओ
demons
क्या
are
mission?
running amok, looking for me.
2 मिनट्स
I don't know. We'll try and find out, but now, you have to stay patient. Ichigo scoffed,
बाबा
but he
मर
knew
गया।
he had nothing to gripe about. Fine.
बाबा
stay
मरते ही
patient.
रहता है क्या?
Still,
मेरे को टायर लगा ले
I understand. Inoue is home. Ishida is not. Where can we find him? Sato asked. Yoruchi shook her head. I don't know. There is a thick spiritual cover placed over the town. DMN, Chad, go to Inoue's house. I'm going back.
मरते ही रहता है।
Ichigo started, before seeing his body prancing through the street. He blinked twice. Son of a beach, he growled, walking toward Khan, did I tell you not to leave? Khan froze. Hi Ichigo, he sputtered. Ichigo crossed his arms. I didn't think I had to monitor you, Khan. Thanks for disobeying my trust, Khan. Thanks for giving me a reason to crush your stupid little pill, Khan. Why you're welcome. God, you are such an a-hole, what are you doing? And not much. Just taking a walk. Ichigo pinched the bridge of his nose. Ha. Well, after your dad left, I didn't want to be in the house by myself with your sisters. They're weird and I don't know what to say to them. Ichigo blinked and rose his head. Where did he go? Ichigo asked, gravely. Huh? Where did he go? Ichigo, are you pondering what I am pondering? Kamen said. Yep. And it isn't a good ponder. For a demon, you aren't particularly strong, Ishin said, arms crossed. Kerberos exhaled, furious. You're in my way, the dog demon snarled, missing his right eye, the spiritual cover is almost up. You wasted too much of my time. Did I? That's good. Kerberos shook his head, as a portal opened from underneath him. I know when to fold them, he said, as chains wrapped around him, and drag him into the portal. Ishin blinked, confused, before a large purple explosion occurred, illuminating the night sky. Oh, that doesn't look too good. What was that? Sato asked. I don't know, but we have to dash, Ichigo started, before a cloth wrapped around his and Sato's midsection. You aren't going anywhere, Yoruchi said, we have everything under control. Of course you do, Ichigo said, rolling his eyes, why would I ever doubt you? Ryukin slid across the ground, eyes focused on the enemy, as Nyx flew high in the sky. You just won't die, Nyx said, charging another energy wave. Ryukin knocked an arrow, and hastily fired it, trying to distract the demon. Nyx, on the other hand, fired her attack into the fire, creating an explosion, clouding her advance. Ryukin barred his teeth, looking around. Suddenly, a purple wave appearing from the smoke, catching him off guard. There was no time for him to get away, so he had to prepare his blunt end. Getsuga Tensho. Ishin shouted, firing off a white blast, intercepting the moth's wave. Nyx and Ryukin turned toward the newcomer. What's going on? He said. Another maggot, Nyx said. I think this has been a failure. You got your powers back. Ryukin said, how convenient. The Shinigami rolled his shoulder. I'm still rusty, but it's cool, he said. Yo, Miss Butterfly, your friend went back to hell. Apparently your spiritual cover is going to be up. Don't you think I don't know that? But unlike him, I have to keep you two away from the target. He's here. Well, I guess I can take some time out of my life to speak to you. Ishin starting running toward the Quincy. Nyx flapped her wings, trying to knock him off his feet, but Ryukin beat her to the punch, and fired an arrow, point blank, into the side of the head of the moth, knocking it back. Die, Quincy. Nyx screeched, shooting thin lasers at the white-haired man, whose quick feet kept him clean. Then come and get me. Nyx needs to calm it down. We only have 5 more minutes, Hayato said, shaking his head. Oh, come on. This is going so well too. Getsuga Tensho. Ishin cried, slashing at Hayato, who blocked it with his wrist. The blind Quincy chuckled. It seems that you broke my blunt. Impressive, Ishin. Impressive. Ishin jumped back, sword ready. Unreleased 2. Unbelievable. That's really impressive, brother-in-law. Hayato snapped his fingers, and a portal opened from underneath him. Nyx, we're leaving, he called out. The moth flew beside him. Are you sure? Nyx asked, the target is right there. There's no point. We're outnumbered. Let's just leave and work it out later. Chains wrapped around the two, and began to drag them down. I'll like to see you again, friends. Next time, everything should be in my favor, Hayato said, grinning. You're a heart. What happened? Ishin asked, why did he attack? The blonde shopkeeper shook his head. It seems that he expected to capture Kurosaki-san or Ishida-san, but for what reason, I have no idea. Do you think he has found her Minsel? Ryukin asked. Yuryu jumped slightly, recognizing that name. Likely, if he's looking for another Quincy. DMN it. Ishin shouted, we have to go after him. Ishin, you know that's a bad idea,
बहुत पढ़ रहा है मेरे
Urahara
को।
said. He was testing us today. When we step down there, he will surely kill us. Do you have another idea? Ryukin said. Urahara sighed. Not at the moment.
ठीक है स्टील द ट्रेलर
Hiyori, I think we may have found our man, a blonde man, wearing a short-sleeve polo, and a yellow and blue striped tie, looking over Ichigo, back in his physical body, walking home. Everything is going to be great. I'll say that was a success. Hayato said, grinning, I learned that neither of our Quincy's are suitable for our mission, but that is
कौन हो रहा है
perfectly
क्या ये लोग?
hell, with a recent discovery,
चल।
we may not even need another Quincy.
बैठो बैठो कौन
What do you
चला
mean?
रहा है?
ये ट्रक लेने
Kerberos asked.
ऊपर से
Hayato pointed toward his hell butterfly, and an
अरे मत-
image of a no-way
मर
hologram
जाएगा।
appeared.
गाड़ी ले दो गाड़ी।
Kerberos and Nyx shared a
हाँ।
glance. Her. Did you want us to capture her?
बाबा
Master?
संभाल के चला ये
Nyx
ट्रेलर
asked.
निकल जाता है।
Hayato shook his head. No.
रुक 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 रुक
Her
रुक।
powers are far
अरे
too
रुक भाई।
premature for her to be useful for us. If I can't get another Quincy,
बाबा
on
पर
board,
संभाल के
she'll
चला
make a
ट्रेलर
great last
निकलता है।
resort. The hell butterfly perched itself on the top of Hayato's head. Shall we attack again soon? Kerberos asked. Nah. I think we learned enough. Ichigo doesn't how much longer with us, and Yuryu is a lost cause. This was a success, but all in all, we can't consider this too important in our plan. Ichigo, I have been delaying this for too long. Ishin said, sitting at the table, in his kitchen, rubbing his forehead. Ichigo narrowed his eyes. Oh what? That my mother was a Quincy? Or that you may or may not be a Shinigami? Or maybe you know something about this crap that happened today? Or maybe,
डॉक्टर के ऐसा
just
बैठते
maybe,
हैं।
you can explain this hollow that is permanently bonded to my soul for the rest of my life. Ishin shook his head. Well, you made my job a bit easier. I hope I did, Ichigo said, sitting at the table. Well, get going. Chapter 26, Artificial Red. Who was that? Yuryu asked his father, aggressively, how did he know me? How did he know you? He's nobody, Ryukin said, sternly.
ये लमार का
The
बकवास है
young
रे।
Quincy looked suspiciously at his father, but did not press the matter further. So, that means my Shinigami powers come completely from the Shinigami you acquired your powers from. You are a full-blooded Quincy, Ishin said. Ichigo shook his head. Well, that makes some sense now, Ichigo said. I doubt she was trying to give me her full powers, after all. Indeed.
संभाल के ले बाबा।
Now, your current state is a bit unusual.
बाबा घुमा के
You
ले
don't say.
निकल जाएगा ये।
Got any
वो निकल
answers on
जाएगा।
how I was able to suddenly develop a Zanpakuto? If what you say is correct, it might be due to your hollow, in a former life, was a Shinigami.
वो
Ichigo
कर एक ही
blinked.
जगह पे।
Kamen blinked. What? What? When Aizen started his plan, he created the first artificial Aaron car, from the soul of a Shinigami.
ट्रक डॉक्टर
What the hell is an Aaron car? Dad, what the hell is an Aaron car? Ichigo asked. A hollow that gains the powers of a Shinigami by removing their
ट्रेलर निकल
masks.
जाते हैं रे
That's
हाँ,
horseshit,
बकवास है
old
ये।
man.
पड़ता है
Kamen shouted.
लमार का लगा है। अरे भाई ये
Shut
लोग
up,
नाम
Kamen.
नहीं लिखता ना।
Ichigo
पता
mumbled.
नहीं चलता किसका मिशन।
Who's Kamen?
कुछ नहीं आता
Ishin asked. Ichigo narrowed his eyes.
मेरे को लगा ट्रेन
The thing that's inside me.
मेरे को भी
I'm
लगा
not a
ट्रेन
thing,
का उसके
you
लिए लगाया
stupid
था मैं।
BSTRD. Shut up, Kamen. Hi, Kamen, Ishin said. Sup, Papa
लेस्टर
Kurosaki,
लेस्टर का मजा
Kamen
आता है।
said. Ichigo mentally slapped his forehead.
एकदम नीचे वाले
What did
लगा
he
था।
say?
देखते किसका है।
Ishin asked, knowingly. He said nothing, Ichigo growled. Repeated,
एस्केप
Ichigo.
दबा वहाँ पे देख
I
ऑनलाइन है ना।
swear to God, I will.
जॉब्स में जा।
I knew
अच्छा,
he
find
said
jobs.
something.
नहीं
Back to
प्ले
the
जॉब।
DMN story, Dad.
अच्छा
Ichigo shouted, snapping his fingers. Ishin chuckled. Where was I again? Oh yeah, Aizen and the Aaron car experiment. Let's see.
आएगा
Let's
ना।
see. Oh, after the hollow
ये
bit
क्या
your
है?
mother.
सो
We passed this. Tell
ये
me
अच्छा
more
लग
about
रहा
the
है
airing
थोड़ा,
car.
देखते
Well, normal airing
हाँ हाँ
cars
ये
are just
लेस्टर का है.
hollows who remove their masks.
इंटरनेट सर्च आ गया ना.
They are not a threat by themselves.
मुझे इंटरनेट
But the ones Eisen was aiming to
हाँ
create,
लेस्टर.
let me guess. They're much more powerful. Ishin shook his head. And I might be one of those things. Actually, Ichigo, you might not, Ishin said. I'm not an expert, but you might be closer to what a Shinigami gaining a hollow mask would be. A wizard. Of course, you're not one, but you're closer to that. Ichigo rose an eyebrow. A wizard, what? Don't worry about it. You're not one. You're just an odd case. A soul that bonded with a hollow created from a Shinigami.
अरे
You're
मेरे को
unique,
snacks खाने
but
का
not in a
इतना
pretty
चाहिए
snowflake
था।
way.
weapon wheel खोलने
Don't
का,
consider
हाँ
it a
उधर
gift.
से ना
I
हाँ
don't.
फूल हो जाता है वो
Ichigo
एक
said,
में.
वो
arms
अच्छा है।
crossed.
वही
Well,
मैं
what
वही
now?
हाँ
Aizen is going to
बस ये
salvage as
देखना
much of
पड़ता है
his
कौन सा
plan as he
खत्म हो.
can. He's going to make his move soon.
चालू कर।
It's not my
रेट क्यों हुआ
problem.
सर?
बड़ा लग रहा है,
What
बड़ा
else?
देगा लेस्टर वहाँ।
I don't know. Kisuk wouldn't tell me more.
विशाली है
Ichigo
लेस्टर,
sighed
वैसे ही
and
लगता
stood
है।
up. Anything else?
गेला विशाल.
Ishin shook his head.
दाल.
Well,
लेस्टर
I'm
हाँ
going to
लेस्टर का
bed.
दांत बाहर है ना ऐसे
I
लगता है
suppose
ना.
things will sort itself out
चश्मा है
soon.
ना।
Keep your head up. Hayarikeo Shinji, a blonde,
Yeah,
wearing the
correct.
standard Karakura high uniform, equipped with a tie, said, in front of the class, name on the board. You wrote it backwards.
जाना है आपने वो।
Oki Sensei
परमानेंट
said, how unique.
स्टील द
It's my
वैन.
talent, you see. It's pretty cool, huh? Ichigo played with his pencil, in annoyance. Doesn't that guy look a little bit too old for high school?
अगर
Kaden
इतना ही
asked.
रहेगा तो बोरिंग होगा फिर.
Ichigo spun his pencil,
पता नहीं
and
लेस्टर
rolled
का
his
तो
eyes.
पता नहीं।
Give him a chance, Kamen, he whispered, as Shinji
हाँ
sat
पुलिस
at
वाले
his
का
old
ना.
desk. Greetings, he said, putting his hand out. Ichigo looked at the hand, then at the blonde's face. Shinji blinked twice.
कैसा भूलता है रे लोग.
Serious? The redhead said. Shinji smiled. Ichigo shook his head, and leaned back in his chair. I'm super serious.
कस्टम
I
हाँ.
think we can be the best of friends. Can't I get a normal neighbor? Ichigo said. Hate to interrupt this riveting conversation, but there is a hollow running around.
गिर
What are you
गया.
gonna do,
कैसा
Ichigo?
गिर गया था वो.
Kamen said. I hate you so much, you stupid cancer. Yeah, cry more, you big baby. What are you going to do? Nothing. Yoruchi doesn't want us doing anything, so we aren't going to do a DMN thing. Let the new deployed Shinigami handle this crap. Ichigo, can you feel that? Kamen said to Ichigo, while he was walking home. Ichigo narrowed his eyes. Yeah, but like I said earlier, we aren't going to anything, he said, before looking up, into the skies. That ain't normal. What isn't? Bunch of souls, just acting like it's Evangelion today. Let's assume this isn't normal. Oh yeah, that isn't too usual, maybe we should investigate. What's going on? Oriheim said, worried. Inoue-san. Sato shouted, sprinting in her direction. Sato,
Agent लेके भाग
what's
जाते हैं.
happening? I don't know, but we have to hurry. Okuiora.
अरे
these
परमा है तो
souls
वो
are
वाला
burning
करना
this
चाहिए.
house.
गाड़ी चोरी
They
करने का था
taste
ना वो.
awful. A
यही
large
रास्ता
man
यही
with
रास्ता
a
बाबा
hollow
यही
mask
रास्ता है.
outlining his jaw.
पक्का।
हाँ हाँ.
Okuiora, a smaller man, with incredibly pale skin, abnormally striking green eyes,
हाँ वो
and a bitter scowl on his face.
गाड़ी
glared at his
चोरी
partner.
करने वाला था ना वो हो नहीं रहा था
Quit
अपने से.
complaining, Yami, he said. You asked to participate
अरे
in this
पता
mission.
टाइम लिमिट था.
Yami
अपन-
growled, rolling his eyes.
हाँ. चार
Yeah,
जगह
but
जाके
I thought
चोरी
it was
करना
going to
था.
be a little more exciting than this. I
हाँ.
don't think anyone
वो
survived
ट्राई
my
करना
gun.
चाहिए अभी परमा है तो हो
His
जाएगा.
concerns, however, were confirmed false,
हाँ.
as a completely fatigued Tatsuki shifted slightly on the ground.
देखो छुट्टी रहेगा।
Hey, Okuiora. One did survive. But she don't look too good, Yami said, whatcha thing? Okuiora glanced her over, and shut his eyes. She's trash, he said.
पापा का फेवरेट पॉट है.
Yami grinning,
पहली
as he
बार
dished out a half-baked kick, that
हाँ,
Sato
हाँ.
absorbed into
पहले
his
और
arm.
इतना अच्छा चला है वो.
The giant hollow tilted his head. What's this?
तारीफ कर.
Two other
अभी क्या
survivors.
हो गया?
Don't bother. He's trash, Okuiora said, flatly. Sato clenched his fist, trying to
तो
regain
खड्डे भी नहीं
feeling.
दिख रहे बाबा को
Inoue-san, please take Arisawa-san away from here.
ए
he
वैन
said,
को तोड़ो
a
मत
bit strained.
अरे वैन को ठोक मत
Orihime
पापा
nodded and grabbed Tatsuki. She began to walk away, before an explosion ripped off from the
अरे
hunter,
रुका एक जगह
and
एक
Sato,
जगह रुका
with a brutally mangled arm crashed into the earth. Sato-kun. Orihime cried out. She gently placed down her friend, and ran toward the fallen team. What? About her?
मर गए क्या
Yami
नहीं
asked.
नहीं बचा है
Okuiora shook his head. Trash, like the rest. The giant grinned,
ले लो
and
गाड़ी
moved
कोई
a
तो
finger in her direction.
इधर किधर मैं
Orihime
एक
shut
पीछे
her
कोई तो
eyes,
है
as her shield
हाँ,
formed in
बैन।
front of her, deflecting
बाजू
the
में किधर
attack.
है ये
Both Yami and Okuiora were both visibly surprised.
परमा को कवर देना बाबा
Interesting. Okuiora
मेरे को
said,
दूसरे
"But
वैन की
still
तरफ लेके जा
trash." Orihime confidently stood up, and summoned her fairies to heal the fallen Sato's arm. Okuiora was taken aback at this development.
रुक जा
That's
किधर हो
not
मैं?
healing that's
किया
different.
मार
Maybe the girl isn't trash after all, he said.
अरे
But
भाई भाई
still,
भाई
she was not part of the mission. Get rid of her Yami.
परमा हैंडल कर पाएगा क्या
Koten's
मार
Anshu.
देगा फायदा
I
मैं गाड़ी
reject.
चलाऊंगा जब
Orihime chanted, as Tsubaki burst toward the hollow.
देख तेरे को जाए
Yami, however, blocked the strike one-handed, with the barest of effort. Nice try, little lady, he said, grinning. Orihime gasped, as Tsubaki's body dissolved.
अरे बाबा चल
Tsubaki
पीछे चल
Okuiora, what about the girl?
ये चार जन
शील्ड
थे।
भी दिया
Yami
था मैंने।
asked, she's shown a few tricks. Should we take her back with us? As
गाड़ी तो
interesting
छोड़
as she is, she not worth the trouble, Yami.
एक काम करते
Kill
हैं,
अरे
इधर करते हैं, एक
Oh yeah, the giant yelled.
हाँ ठीक है
moved his
चलेगा
massive
टाइम
arm
नहीं
in
है
her
हाँ
direction.
ओके
What this, about killing my friends, Ichigo said, blocking Yami's strike, with the
जैसे
back
भी
of his
चला।
wrist. He looked
चल
back
बाबा
at
पीछे
Orihime,
पीछे वाले को
then to
मारते
Sato, and narrowed his eyes. Sorry I'm late, he said, solemnly. No,
गाड़ी ले ले, गाड़ी।
I'm sorry, Kurosaki-kun. Orihime said, if I was stronger, I could have dashed. Don't apologize.
मैं
Now
चलाऊं
if
क्या
I may, I am going to have to ask you to leave.
कुछ भी चलेगा बोल
Orihime was slight struck by the sheer bluntness of his request, but nodded.
या तो मेरे को छोड़ो, मेरे को
Okay, she said.
हाँ छोड़ते हैं
weakly,
टाइम
as she
लिमिट नहीं है
fled. Ichigo sighed.
पर deliver
and
किधर
glared at
करना है?
Yami.
हाँ, मेरे को-
बाबा के पीछे
Alright,
बाबा के पीछे
I'm gonna assume that you are the one who ripped my friend's arm off, he said, deeply.
हाँ हाँ
What
मैं
the hell
आगे
does
रहता
it
हूँ
matter? Yami shouted, before his right arm was shred into ribbons.
हाँ हाँ
He screamed, falling backward. I'm also gonna assume that you are the one who ate all the souls. Am I correct?
इधर से शॉर्टकट ले
I'm gonna kill you. Ichigo grinned, as his arm surged a dark red aura.
मैं
पर वो लोग आ ही नहीं
I
रहा
wonder if I can uproot those souls, if I hit you hard enough.
एनी आया आया
I doubt it, but you can try.
बहुत फास्ट गाड़ी
Shut
है।
up, Cayman. Ichigo charged the raging hollow, and delivered a zero-charged punch directly to his midsection,
मेरे को तो मार
punching
कर भी
an
नहीं दिख
uneven hole into him. Yami fell to the ground, coughing up blood and souls. Ichigo grinned.
तूने मार
I
किया ना
cannot believe that worked, he said, before Okuiora charged him,
मेरे
stabbing
को तो
forth with
मेरे
his
को तो
hand.
यही दिखा रहा है
Ichigo parried the attack with his hand, and tried to
Acha.
counterattack with a quick zero. Okuiora used Sonido to avoid, and fired his own green
रुक
zero,
मैं तेरे गाड़ी में
which
आता हूँ तो
Ichigo
मेरे को मार्क
crushed with a
दिखेगा
backhand. Okuiora landed on his feet, and fired a quick crimson zero,
अबे,
which
इधर वैन
crashed
चोरी
in
करने
Ichigo,
को।
but caused very insignificant damage to him. The pale hollow charged Ichigo again, but the redhead again parried the strike,
मार
and this
किया
time followed up with a knee, knocking
नहीं हुआ
Okuiora back.
मार्क नहीं हुआ रुक
The
मैं
hollow
मार्क कर
rolled
देता
back to
हूँ
his feet, as Ichigo charged, foot aimed at his head. Despite putting up his hand in defense, his guard was broken, and Okuiora was sent skidding across the ground. What is this? He said, a bit shocked, a human. How could one be so powerful?
नहीं हो रहा है रे मार्क
I'm
मेरे
no
को तेरे
human,
पीछे आना
hollow,
पड़ेगा
Ichigo said. You might want to discard any preconceived notions you have about me. It'll get you killed.
सीधा
He drew his sword, and held it by his
वैसे
hip,
अभी नहीं आ रहा,
one-handed.
परमा ले ले दूसरा वाला।
Is that a Zanpakuto?
तो मैं जाऊँ
whatever you
उसको
want
मदद
it to
करने
be.
हाँ, उसको मदद
Ichigo
करना है,
said,
आराम से
smirking, Getsuga Tensho. The crimson streak burst out, but was shattered by Okuiora effortlessly. Ichigo fired off another Getsuga, again deflected by the hollow. This time, however, Ichigo closed the distance between the two, Zero primed in his hands. Okuiora looked into the face of the former substitute, perplexed. "How you doing?" Ichigo said, darkly. Okuiora used his own Zero to protect himself, yet still found himself wounded by the
हाँ
attack.
नीचे
"I hope Aizen-sama allows us to remove the limiter soon," Okuiora said. Ichigo narrowed his eyes. "Aizen? Well, this was to be expected. Regardless," Ichigo said, charging in. Okuiora fired another crimson round, but Ichigo, using Sonido, got around the attack. The pale hollow had no time to avoid the Getsuga-powered strike, and found the jagged blade deep into his chest. Okuiora rolled on the ground, bleeding openly. "Sonido? I refuse to allow some human trash to defeat me," he said. Ichigo sighed, gripping his sword. "Your
मर गया है
prejudices
guys
are showing. How disappointing. I told you earlier that I'm no human."
हाँ मेरे को अभी
Ichigo
दिखा
shook his head, as he steadied his stance. Okuiora fired off another crimson Zero, which Ichigo effortlessly blocked. However, the pale hollow, using Sonido, appeared behind the former substitute, taking him by surprise.
क्या दिखा रहा है?
DMN.
हाँ
Ichigo growled,
Western
realizing that he walked right into the hollow's trap. Okuiora fired his green Zero, and Ichigo braced for
बाबा
the
पहुंचा
impact
क्या
that
तू?
never came.
पहुंचना
The red head rolled away, seeing that he was shielded by Orihime Santen Keshin. Ichigo looked around, and saw her standing about 20 feet away from him. "I'm sorry, Kurosaki-kun," she said, "I had to come back." Ichigo frowned, as a ward sprouted from Yami's resting place. The giant rose, and charged Ichigo haphazardly. The bonded one sidestepped the attack, before he was met up with Okuiora's hand, charging a powerful Zero. Ichigo's spiritual pressure provided a weak layer of armor, but it was better than nothing, and he was sent flying into a crater. "Kurosaki-kun!" Orihime shouted, running toward him. Yami, however, had other thoughts, and intercepted her path. "Shut up, Bleach," he roared, hitting her with a powerful backhand. Ichigo immediately rose. "In no way," he shouted, black filling his scara. "Let's go, Ichigo." Kamen roared. The familiar hollow mask sprouted on his face, adorned by 4 red streaks. Yami prepared to continue his assault, but before he could attack, his remaining arm was blasted away, and his body was sent flying. Ichigo leaped on the body, and before Yami could say any meaningless words, the former substitute punched a Zero into his body, annihilating it. Okuiora glanced at Ichigo, then the body of his partner, then back to the redhead. "What is this human?" Okuiora said. Ichigo rushed to Orihime's side, and knelt beside her. Orihime struggled to say. Ichigo shook his head. "Don't speak. Do you need immediate care?" Orihime looked at Ichigo, and despite her blurry vision, she could have sworn that he was wearing a hollow's mask. She, nevertheless, answered the question by shaking her head. Ichigo stood back up, and looked back at Okuiora. "I'll be quick, okay? Don't worry," he said, sternly. Okuiora narrowed his eyes. "I'm truly intrigued by you, human," he said. "I suppose this is why Aizen-sama wanted me to observe you. Shame you killed Yami, though." Ichigo twisted his neck, and glared at the hollow. Okuiora rose his arm, before Ichigo suddenly appeared in front of him, and delivered a viscous Zero-fueled uppercut, connecting solidly with his jaw. Okuiora fell onto his back, and before he could recover, Ichigo stood over him, prepared to fire another Zero. The hollow protected himself with another Zero, but was overwhelmed. As Ichigo landed gracefully on his feet, Okuiora rose, staggered. The hollow's expression, while not changing, showed clear frustration.
मामा तू पड़वल को पैसा दिया क्या?
Ichigo, on the other hand, looked completely focused.
मैं वैल्यू खेलने
"What's
नहीं आता।
wrong?
क्या ही खेलेगा वो?
You don't look too sure of yourself," Ichigo said, thin membrane of red spiritual particles covering
कितना लिया?
him.
200 250
Okuiora blinked, as a burst of energy flowed from inside.
मेरे को 50
I
वापस
see.
दियो, पता नहीं.
Aizen-sama sees you as enough of a threat to allow me to remove the limiter, he said. I'll try and make this as quick as possible. Then let's go.
50 दियो.
Ulquiorra charged toward, stabbing with his hand. Ichigo knew that he couldn't deflect this attack, so he spun into the direction of the attack, closing the distance between them. With the most subtle of motions, he punched Ulquiorra in his midsection, but he was not affected. Ichigo attempted to follow up with a Zero, but the hollow beat him to the punch, blasting him in the neck with another crimson round. This one actually hurt, and Ichigo reeled back, clutching his throat. Ulquiorra, wasting no time, dashed forward, and stuck his arm into the former substitute's sternum. Ichigo clutched the hand-arm with his left hand. There is a massive difference between us, human, the hollow said, as Ichigo started to laugh. Let's see about that, hollow, he said, as a ball of scarlet energy grew in his right hand, Zero Grados de Fuga. The blast exploded point blank to both of them, and they separate quickly, flying off in opposite directions. Ichigo skidded across the ground, arms ruined, before he was caught by Yoruchi. Ichigo blinked, before the mask on his face shattered. Ulquiorra, on the other hand, was worse for wear, as not only was he missing his left forearm, but his head was chunked. Despite all of this, he was still alive, and he got to his feet, unsteady. Looks like you're a little outmatched here, Urahara said, pointing Beneheim at him. Ichigo, get Inoue and Yasutora out of him. We'll clean up here, Yoruchi said. Ichigo nodded, and slowly rose to his feet. He walked over to Inoue, who was hovering on the border of unconsciousness. He slowly picked her up, and walked gingerly over to Sato, whom was well enough to walk, but barely. Chad, we're going to the shop, Ichigo said, sternly. How far can you walk? I can make it, Sato said. I guess this is a proper time to make my retreat. Ulquiorra said, as a Garganta opened behind him, in my current state, it would be foolish of me to fight you too, even with my limiter deactivated. My mission was accomplished anyway. Urahara lowered his Zanpakuto. Well then, I'm sure Aizen won't be pleased with the loss of one of his soldiers, he said. Ulquiorra shut his remaining eye. It is a waste. Yami won't be missed, he stated, simply, stepping through the Garganta. I'm sorry I came back. Orihime said, lightly, if I never came back, I would have never gotten in the way. You don't have to apologize. I'm not upset, Ichigo said, you did what you thought was right. Nothing wrong with that. I dash. You wanted to help. And I appreciate that. But you should be more careful. Orihime's small smile wavered slightly. Ichigo. Yoruchi called out, entering the room, what happened? Stuff. And stuff happened. I don't know how to explain it. Might have to do with those errand cars my dad told me about. A completed one, that fast. Urahara said, this may be a problem. May. Ichigo said, mockingly, this is a problem. I'm not sure what the errand car wanted, but I sure it had something to do with me. Ichigo, don't get too worked up, Yoruchi said, just focus on staying safe. Ichigo looked at his wounded arms, and sighed. Not particularly doing a very good job at that, he said. Is Inoue going to be good enough to go home? I doubt she'd be good enough to go home anytime soon, Urahara said. Get your dad to make an excuse for her in school. I also have to praise your handling of the situation. Due to your actions, no humans had to die in the area. Yeah, whatever. How about you, Chad? I'm fine, the tall teen said, holding his heavily bandaged arm. Ichigo narrowed his eyes. Sato-kun, are you sure you don't dash? Rest, Ichigo said, to the offering Orihime, we're off. Anything new, you come to us. I'll see you later, Kurosaki-kun, Orihime said, smiling faintly. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Is it cool that you're just walking around in your spirit form? came and asked, I don't know.
क्या घंटा उल्टा
Seems
मेरे को
kinda
रास्ता
weird
डाला,
to me. Ichigo shrugged.
उल्टे रास्ते कर दिया
not?
मेरे को।
मेरे को उल्टा
I'm just
चिड़का
happy
है
that my
बाबा।
arms did lose any functionality after that
क्या तू
serum,
तो चेक
he
पॉइंट
said.
के थे, मैं तो उधर भी नहीं गया
Came
था।
in chortled.
क्या चिढ़ गया है बाबा,
See,
कंट्रोलर
it gets
लेके
better.
चिड़ी कर रहा है वो।
Whatever. The rustling of leaves attracted the former substitute's attention.
भाई मैं
Ichigo
हूँ राइट
glanced
साइड
around,
में, मेरे को
keeping
राइट,
a keen eye on his
तो
surroundings.
मैं क्यों ठोकूं तेरे को?
Someone's here, he whispered, not worried in the slightest, but still focused on keeping his guard up. A quick rise, then
बहुत
rapid
चिढ़,
decline of spiritual
बहुत
pressure
ना बाबा
indicated where
चल।
the attacker was coming from, and Ichigo
कंट्रोलर
immediately
एक तो है
defended
और ना
himself from
ऊपर
the
से
sword
चिड़िया
strike.
पे हार है।
Hirako Shinji, the assaulter, grinned. Good job, Kurosaki-san, he said. Ichigo, not having it, pushed him back with the force of his spiritual pressure. I'm not in the mood right now, he said, my arms ache, and I kinda had a dude put his entire arm
जा
on my
रहे तू
throat.
चिड़ी करके ठोक के
I
जा रहे
really
कब
don't
से?
have time for this. I just want to make an offer. I'm not
जा
listening.
रहे कंट्रोलर है,
Can't
इसके
I
लिए
tell you
जीतता
what
है
I'm
तू।
selling? I ain't buying it. Don't you fear what's inside you?
घंटा कीबोर्ड में
Are you
खेले।
a wizard? Shinji blinked.
पापा ठोक दे।
Ah. Holy crap, you're a wizard.
जी भाई,
That's
ठोक
probably
दिया।
why you're creeping around in a high school, old man. What are you dash? Besides, Ichigo said, walking away, I'm not a wizard. Shinki summoned his mask, and fired a small zero at Ichigo,
Am I right?
who flared up his spiritual pressure in defense. He sighed, then looked back, in mild irritation. Look familiar? Shinji asked, grinning. Ichigo blinked. Sure. It's a hollow mask, he replied, but it's nothing like mine. When you put your mask on, your powers simply increase. When I put my mask on, I gain access to my full potential. My mask is not one of a hollow, but instead one of a Zanpakuto. A Zanpakuto? Impossible. You would think. But logic doesn't mean anything to me. Chapter 27.
जा रहे चिड़ी
Cookies.
खाता है।
Shinji knew something wasn't right.
मैं दूर था यार।
Ichigo not being a wizard. That didn't make sense. They seen the mask. They seen him fight with it. There was no doubt he was a wizard. But there was a slight hint of
पार्कोर
truth to
बोल
his
रहा है क्या तू?
statement. He never seemed to fight the hollow for control. He also did not seem to fear the hollow inside of him. What are you talking about?
ये
Shinji questioned, even if you could simply ignore the hollow.
मार रहा है इसमें बाबा।
I can't ignore this BSTRD. He
अरे क्या
talks all the
बोलते हैं,
DMN time,
उसमें अपने
Ichigo
गाड़ी
said.
अपग्रेड करने के लिए रेस खेलना
Besides,
पड़ेगा।
he and I have a wonderful relationship. Complete bliss. That sounded pretty hostile, man. Besides, what do you need me for? I'm unaligned, and I plan to stay that
मुझे
way.
तो फ्री मोड जाता है,
Shinji
कंटिन्यू पे
blinked.
कुछ भी हो जाता है।
You aren't with the Shinigami, he asked, tilting his head. Ichigo shook his head. Why would I?
पार्कोर कैसा लगा थे?
I'm not a Shinigami.
अलग है।
I never was.
कैसा लगा था पूछा?
The former substitute
That's
again
it,
started to
that's
walk
it.
away again, but this time, Shinji couldn't find a
Papa.
reason to pursue the matter further. Instead, he grabbed his cell phone.
कंटिन्यू
Did I don't think this is gonna work the way we want it exactly, he said nervously, keeping the phone away from his ear. What the hell is that posed TO mean? The voice from the other line roared, nearly forcing Shinji to drop his phone. It means things have changed that I'll explain more when I get back. Ishin knew that his son wasn't the paragon of excitement and joy he
ऐसे भी
would
कौन सा
describe
भी लगा
himself
रहा है
as,
रैंक।
but now, something seemed off. Ichigo seemed more down than usual. He figured he could ask, but he knew he had to have confidence in his son. If it was something he couldn't handle alone, he hoped Ichigo knew to go to him first. Here's Orihime-chan's and Sato's excuse slips. You need anything else? Ichigo grabbed the papers, and put them in his backpack, silently. I'm good, he said, Dad. It's nothing. Thanks. Ishin nodded, and watched his son leave the home. The former captain sighed, as he sat down. I'm sure he will.
अबे लोग बस स्टॉप
In
में
no
बैठे
way,
थे ना, इनके
Sam.
मुंह पे गाड़ी का धुआं उड़ा रखे।
Ishida shouted, slamming open the door.
बाबा आजा।
Ichigo, sitting beside the wounded girl, narrowed his eyes, as Orihime showed the slightest of shock.
तो
Oh,
मर जाएगा
hello
5
Ishida-kun, she greeted,
अरे
smiling.
मिनिमम
What
वही है
brings you
5 ही
here?
लेते हैं.
I came to see you. Yasutora-san said that you were injured. What happened?
शील्ड लिया क्या
Oh,
हुआ
it was my fault. Honest.
बाबा एमओ भी ले
Orihime
खत्म होता है
said.
तेरा.
Yuryu shook his head. Ichigo knew what was about to happen, but decided that he wasn't going to leave. Maybe if Kurosaki was a little more competent bingo.
हॉट ड्रिंक
कौन सा लिया?
Kurosaki-kun told me to leave, so I wouldn't get hurt.
हेलफायर.
I chose to come back Orihime said, defensively. No, you don't have to make excuses for me, Ichigo said. If that's what you believe, then believe it. He started walking for the door. Kurosaki-kun, wait. It's fine. Have fun. Yuryu glared at the departing redhead, but chose not to continue on. There was no need to. Remember when I told you that I feel what you feel? Kamen asked. Yes. Then can you calm down? This anger is giving me a headache. Ichigo exhaled, but to no avail. Despite the hard exterior and bitter composition, Ichigo rarely was angry. He knew frustration. He knew annoyance. Anger was not something he knew. That last type he felt pure anger actually wasn't that long ago, when Rukia didn't let him save her, back when he fought Renji and Byakuya for the first time. But before that, the death of his mother. And he really didn't know how to react. Back then, he reacted by lashing out against his friends. After Rukia's arrest, he tried to focus his anger into his trying to get stronger. But
अच्छा
now
दो
what?
चेक पॉइंट क्यों है?
He was walking around, upset, with nothing to do. I guess I'll see what Ikumi wants. What do you want, Ichigo dummy? Kaoru asked, suspiciously. Ichigo gently shoved him out of the way, and grabbed his order folder.
मेरा गाड़ी तो
You're just gonna break into my house, the boy shouted. Be quiet,
अच्छा ये सिर्फ राउंड
Ichigo
राउंड है क्या
said. He opened the folder,
इसके लिए
and
पाँच
to his
था.
surprise, it was empty.
एक
That's
एकदम
interesting.
खतरनाक वाला पार्कोर लगा हो क्या?
What? That no
मेरा
one
तो
wants
दिमाग
you.
उड़ गया था.
Kaoru pestered, maybe if you weren't so
क्या फालतू
stupid,
था.
more people would want to hire you. Ichigo rolled his eyes, placing the
मेरा गाड़ी
folder
टर्न
back
नहीं ले
down. Tell your mother I stopped by, he said. Also tell her to call me. I won't.
हाँ क्या?
Fine. Ichigo grabbed a notebook and a pen from his
Minimum
bag,
पाँच ही था.
scribbled out some harsh-looking hiragana symbols, and placed it in Ikumi's empty order folder. He then grabbed a sticky note from his bag, and in English, wrote out, willing to work, on it, and slapped it against the wall. Wow, that desperate, huh? Kaoru said. Ichigo threw his book of sticky notes at him. Keep it, he said. That hurt, you stupid dummy. Kaoru whined. Ichigo rolled his eyes, walking out of the shop. Ichigo truly never wanted to work. He never wanted a job. But it was a necessity. His dad refused to give him an allowance, and his friends mooched off of him, forcing his hand. Of course, being 14, there weren't too many places offering work. Until he met the wonderfully weird Anajiya Ikumi. From the first time he met her, Ichigo knew that there was something seriously wrong with her. When she offered to teach him how to drive, ironic, because she was an awful driver herself, he knew that laws meant very little to her. And then there was her son, Kaoru. He was annoyance personified. Whenever someone with a X and Y chromosome attempted to talk to his mother, he would freak out, and do anything necessary to scare them away. He never did have a father figure, as he was born out of wedlock, so it made some sense, but it wasn't healthy. One of the main reasons why he was hired was that he could be a positive male role model to the boy, but nothing seemed to work.
पर ये बकवास गाड़ी
Kaoru
है.
seemed to hate him more the longer he
चलता ही
worked
नहीं
at the
fast.
shop. Ichigo really didn't care, as he wasn't being paid to tend to the boy's emotions, but it was bothersome.
तो एक और लाख वगैरह
And in the beginning, he made a legit shot at being a good idol. Oh well. Regardless, Ikumi knew if Ichigo told her to call him, that they needed to talk. It was nice having an adult to talk to that wasn't your parents. Of course, with the recent reveals, he was going to have to go to his father again, but that could wait. And if it couldn't, it would have to wait. How interesting. Jin said, sitting back, in an ornate chair, in front of a large computer screen. Kurosaki isn't turning out the way we want him to. Aizen isn't too happy about that. Tozen frowned deeply. Regardless, we have to move on. The information Okuiora gathered for us is invaluable. Jin sighed. You take things too seriously. Relax. Aizen probably knows what he's gonna do. Just ride it out. Still, he could be a major roadblock. Maybe we should have let Okuiora release, and finish him before he grows more powerful. Jin shrugged. It's fine. If Aizen wanted him dealt with, he would have sent the order. He still thinks he can savage his plans. How idealistic. I wonder if I should. Ichigo said, leaning back at his desk. He, rarely, was ever the first one to class, but today, he had to think, and he had to think away from home. The Vizard? Waste of time, came and said, you aren't one of them. And besides, what can they truly do to help you? You're in complete control. That's beside the point. Maybe they can help us. With the bonding? I never thought about that. But I severely doubt it. What's with the pessimism? If that blonde a-hole was dumb enough to become a Vizard, what do you think he can do to help you? Ichigo blinked. Fair point. But, it's worth a try, at least. Whatever. The door slid open, and a downtrodden Yuryu walked in. Ichigo ceased his conversation, to silently observe the fallen Quincy. You're early, Yuryu stated. Ichigo rolled his neck. Or maybe you're just late, he said, what's biting
वो
you?
रॉन जैसा खेलता था वैसा अंदाज नहीं
Nothing,
हुआ.
Kurosaki. Leave me alone.
अरे वो करना पड़ता है.
Why should I? A good friend would never dash.
अरे मतलब वो नाम
You
पता
aren't
रहना.
my friend. Leave
क्या
me
हो गया?
alone.
ये क्या हो गया?
Ichigo
अच्छा.
chuckled.
बोला ना
अरे वो नाम
Okay,
पता रहना
okay.
चाहिए. उसमें बहुत सारा
I'll
रहता
leave
है.
you alone, if you
But,
answer one simple question. The Quincy adjusted his glasses, and turned toward the red head. What?
ये गिरा ही नहीं
Can you
अपन
tell me what it
Turning
means to
it,
be a Quincy? Why should I bother? Ryukin said, sitting in his office, you wasted your first turn. Why should I waste my time to give you powers you don't deserve? I need dash, Yuryu started. Honestly, you should consider this a gift. Hayato was looking for another Quincy, and having 3 in Karakura would be a disaster.
एक है रे.
Yuryu blinked, in confusion. T3? Yes, 3. If you couldn't tell that there was another Quincy, then your case for me helping you is
Hey,
weaker
what
than
again?
I thought. Who was the third? Ryukin narrowed his
गेम में
eyes.
ठोक दिया इधर.
Well, Hayato forced his hand on this. The eldest Kurosaki. Yuryu nearly fell over, in
वो
shock.
मैंने recent-
That can't be true. It is. And maybe his sisters too, but I doubt it. Their powers have been repressed better, this go about, due to the lack of a hollow. Kurosaki had a hollow inside of him the whole team. Ryukin lit a cigarette, and sighed. Not exactly. The hollow was an odd manifestation of his non-existent Shinigami powers. Until he was made the substitute Shinigami, he was just a normal human, with Quincy potential. I should have acted before, but I was sure that Ichigo wasn't going to awaken all of his powers at once. What were you going to do? The only thing I could. Kill him. By some sheer luck, Kurosaki managed to survive, by not realizing his Quincy lineage at the time. The fact that he was a pureblood Quincy made him more desirable to Hayato. The dormant hollow managed to save him. Unfortunately, that wasn't going to do him any good. The hollow became something else, and Ichigo is as far away from a Quincy as humanly possible. To be honest, describing Ichigo would be nearly impossible. I don't know, Kurosaki, Yuryu answered, pride, I guess. I thought I knew, but not anymore. Ichigo averted his glance. Pride? What a simple answer. Shinji was legit confused about dealing with this guy. Watching him, he really didn't do anything different daily. Ichigo would leave school, head home, change clothes, and walk around. Not doing anything. It was annoying. What's even more annoying is that he knows that he's following him, yet he does not care. Ichigo, not once, has threatened him or told him to leave him alone. Not once has he told him off. Not once has he attacked him. Maybe he was right. Maybe he wasn't a wizard. But still, they seen the mask. One more fight, he said, I'll observe you one more time, Kurosaki-san. A man, with straight, medium-length chestnut-colored hair, and sharp brown eyes looked over the papers on his desk. Demons sighted in Karakura town, is what they read. The man sighed, and pressed his palm against his forehead. Who wants to investigate this mess? He said, sarcastically. I will. Yura shouted, popping up behind him. The man rolled his eyes. Lord Mukin, what are you doing here? He asked. Yura tilted her head, smiling brightly. Nothing, Virgil. Just wondering what to do about these demons. Virgil Alexanderson, the third Lord of Death, narrowed his eyes. Preferably nothing, he said, let an ensign take care of this mess. Ooh, I'll volunteer myself.
चीता साइक्लोन
Virgil rose an eyebrow. For what reason?
हेलो
Because I
अरे वो
want to.
पहला आता है ना जो
Now,
डिफॉल्ट
I don't think you would argue that my presence is, despite being unnecessary, is not going to be an issue.
अरे मेरे को
Like,
वही है कि याद नहीं आ रहा है
Virgil
अरे बहुत
shook his
बकवास था उसका नाम
Whatever. It's you time, Lord Mukin. Sweet. I
Rich
honestly don't
boy, I don't
understand why you didn't
know.
become a Lord of War. You act just like those jocks. Good
Maybe
morning,
don't have.
Kurosaki-kun, Oriheim. Finally back in school after a week, said, softly. Ichigo responded with a very empty, good morning, before sitting down in his seat. Oriheim's small smile faded.
अच्छा वही वाला है तो दूसरा वाला है मैं जो बोल रहा था ना दूसरा वाला है फिर
Ichigo said. Well, Yoruchi-san said that the healing technique she used would be enough. And I already caused enough trouble to them, so I didn't want to bother them anymore. Ichigo softened his expression. Is this about her losing one of her fairies? This could be interesting.
ये वाला भी पार्कोर
You
जैसे
know
ही है
what? I'm coming over
ये
after
easy
school,
वाला
if
पार्कोर
that
है
is okay with you, he said, sternly, be alone. This is important. Oriheim blanched. Tea tonight, she squeaked. Yes, tonight. Is that okay with you? Why yes, it's alright with me, she said, a little louder than she wanted
मेरा
to.
एक अरे यार
Ichigo sat
मेरा
back
एक
in his
चेक
seat.
पॉइंट मिस
Great. Great.
चेक पॉइंट मिस
I'll see you after school. Ichigo sat at his desk in an empty classroom during lunch. He was not eating.
दिखा रहेगा तेरे को
He
कुछ
was
चेक
not
पॉइंट मिस हुआ
planning
ऐसा
any last-minute study. He was just sitting. and
अरे
thinking.
मैं गलती से ये लगा मेरे को दूसरा लगाना था
Preferred to avoid thinking, before the chasm of depression and self-loathing overtook him, but now, he had a very important decision to make. Of course, he doubted the wizard could help, but it was worth a try, but there was nothing else he could really do. Of course, he could,
इस बार बाबा पहुंच गया क्या
but that was a last resort. Letting his father know that he was going to die was the hardest thing he has ever done.
मेरे को भी नहीं लग रहा है
His dad telling him that there was nothing to be done was probably the hardest thing he had ever done, too. There was some tension between the two since then, because of this knowledge. Ichigo wanted to talk to him, but knew that a regular
अरे मेरा हो गया
father-son
तो
was
हो
impossible,
गया
as his father also was aware of.
मेरा हो गया
स्पीड में आ रहा
Still,
है स्पीड
his
में
father was there, always willing to talk. And he knew that he wasn't going to judge him for any future actions. But still. Oi, Ichigo, a loud, boisterous voice,
अरे
slamming open the door to the
मेरा
classroom
हो
shouted,
गया था
knocking Ichigo out of his thoughts. The redhead glared at the door, to see Renji, Ranjaku, Toshiro, Ikaku, and Yumachika standing there. Ichigo's
हो
already
गया
intense stare hardened. Long time,
बाबा
no
सीधा
see,
गाड़ी लेके आ
Ranjaku said.
हाँ वही सीधा लेके आया एकदम
It's
और
been
एकदम
like a
स्पीड में,
month,
पीछे से
Ichigo
एकदम।
responded. But, it was a long month, without us, right? Renji said.
अरे
No. Get away from me. As rude as always, a voice from the window called out, I thought that you would have grown up a little, Ichigo. Ichigo closed his eyes. Dear Christ, is this FNG reunion or something? Of course, you had to be here, Ichigo said, agitated. How many more are coming? What's it matter to you? Renji answered, we're here on orders. For what? The errand car? Ichigo said, they're buttes. We aren't just here for the errand car. Rukia shouted, we're here to protect the human population. What about the already deployed Shinigami? You know what, I really don't give a crap. I don't pay for this crap. Do whatever. You now have to care, Toshiro said, you're an important ally of ours. We need to make sure you're up to task. I'm not an ally of yours. Go bother someone else. What are you dash? I believe he said he wasn't an ally, Yura said, sitting at the teacher's desk. I guess that's that, right? Oh, long time, no see, Ichigo-chan. Lord Muken. Toshiro said, shocked, what are you doing here? Oh, you again. Ichigo groaned. I was just going over the sudden and unexplained demonic appearances in this here town, but now I need to know why the hell are there 6 more deployed Shinigami than the last deployment chart said there was. It was a special order, handed down by Captain Commander Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni, Ranjaku said, surprisingly serious. We are here to deal with the errand car threat. Yura smiled. And why are you, Vice Captain Matsumoto Ranjaku, speaking to me directly, rather than your direct superior over there? I am the senior officer here. I felt my seniority would dash. I'm just joshing you. I don't care about all that formal sheet. I ain't Felice, Lord Lombardi. Whatever. And truly, I really don't care about the lack of information on this impromptu deployment. It's not your fault. What are you getting at? Ichigo asked, irritated. He was seriously tired of seeing familiar faces, now. Well, Lord Yamamoto should have told us, before sending you 6 out. This would have led to proper strategic resourcing, as we would not have approved of this kind of bullshit, sending 5 seated officers, and 1 unseated officer, to a smallish town like this. Wait, Lord Yamamoto. Ichigo said, the old man's a lord of death. Not one of death, Yura said, standing up, revealing that she was wearing a lot more than she was last time, as she was wearing a black coat, with a large white skull on her left BRC. The coat tapered off into 2 tails, with white accents. Her bottoms were black tight pants, tucked into her boots. He was a lord of conquest. But, he got soft, and left. But that's not important. He knew the process. He knew what he should have done. But luckily, I really don't care. I'm not a narc. If Lord Alexanderson was her, ooh, you guys would be getting chewed out right now. Lord Muken, you said that there were demons, Toshiro said, what happened? Yura stretched her arms. Demons. Powerful ones. Tier 2 demons. Nasty little BSTRDS, she said, they don't escape the gates of hell too easily. Help is typically required. And that's why I'm here today. I fought one. Maybe I could help. Ichigo said, I don't care that you fought him. I need to know how they got here. Maybe I could help them out. It's not too important. Demons enter the realm of living all the time. Investigations are required so we can make sure we did nothing wrong. Usually, we send ensigns or maybe young lieutenants and captains, but I felt that I could do it. I feel you have ulterior motives, Ichigo said, eyes narrowed. Yura chuckled, confirming his thoughts. Dad, I'm leaving, Ichigo said, solemnly. Ishin exhaled in response. Is there something that you want to tell me? He asked, freezing Ichigo. After a moment of deliberation, Ichigo shook his head slowly, continuing for the door. No, he said, leaving the house. Ishin stood up, and looked out the window, into the blue sky. I guess I'll stay up late tonight. Why are you delaying this? Hurry up and talk to him.
नहीं आ रहा मेरे को इतना
Cayman screamed.
ये कर,
Ichigo
इसलिए
put
तू
his
इन्वाइट कर।
headphones over his ears, trying to drown out the internal noise.
मेरे को हाँ,
He knew he had to go to him, but it had to wait. It had to. Chapter 28, Them Bones. Ichigo. Where are you going? Rukia
बाबा भेजा दे।
asked, block away from the redhead house. Ichigo slowly removed his headphones and
नकली
sighed.
जीती है।
Were you waiting for me? He asked, and can it wait a little longer? I have things to do. Like what? She asked, you know what, never mind.
छोड़ो
I
डिफिकल्ट वाला
really need
लगा
to
तो
speak to you.
अभी आएगा
About what? I thought I made it very clear that I'm not worried about the Aaron car or Aizen. It isn't about that. Ichigo sighed, shaking his head
अच्छा
softly.
ऐसा करना चाहिए फिर
Then
मतलब
what?
जो एक ही जन बस जाना
Rukia,
चाहिए
with
बाकी
a
सब
hint
तो
of
फ्री
anger
मोड
in
में
her
जाते हैं
eyes, stepped up to
invite करके
Ichigo
बुला सकते
and
हैं।
grabbed him by his collar, pulling him to her height. What happened at the Sokayaku Hill? With the hollow mask, and all, she whispered. Ichigo chuckled. Things. Can you please stop doing that? She shouted, pushing him. I've been trying to find something that resembles you, but I can't. I'm trying to help you, so help me. I'm not a wizard, if that is what you are wondering. There's your help, Ichigo said, don't stress yourself over me. There is absolutely nothing you can do. But dash. No buts. Everything that is happening to me is completely my fault, and my fault alone. I can fight this battle by myself.
आया
Rukia
है।
narrowed her eyes.
नहीं, अभी
Can you
नीचे
at least tell me what's going on? She asked. Ichigo shrugged. I could. But it won't do you no good, he responded.
Baba,
Besides, it's not worth it. But when is it?
मेरे को
Cayman asked, furious.
बाबा
Ichigo exhaled, and turned around.
भेजा।
Shut up, he whispered, nearly inaudibly. Rukia clenched her fists tightly.
बाबा
Are we not friends?
एक काम
She
करो, मेरे को
asked.
तुम लोग को वर्ल्ड में इनवाइट
Ichigo paused. Rukia, do not press the matter further, he said, darkly. I'm sure
हाँ,
whatever
खतरनाक
answers you
वाला है
want,
कुछ तो।
you will not be
मैं
pleased
थोड़े में
with.
छोड़ दिया था।
This is partly my fault that I want to help.
फालतू लग
It's
रहा
not her
था।
fault, Ichigo,
मतलब
Cayman
difficult
said.
है।
She sort of sped up the problem, but everything that is happening
हाँ,
now
हाँ,
would have happened
भेजा।
anyway, with or without her input. What? Explain to me dash.
देख आया क्या?
The only way I'm explaining sheet to you, is if you go to your DMN
भाई
father.
किधर गए तुम लोग
I'll think about. What has happened in
चालू
the
करेंगे
past
इसको।
cannot be reversed.
मैं
Don't blame yourself, Ichigo said, trying his damnedest to avoid the conversation. Rukia did not react. But why won't you tell me? Because it's not no, it is important. Just, I don't want to get your
मैं
hopes up.
बना रहा हूँ मेरे इसमें।
Can't believe that idiot Yami bit it, an Aaronkar, with turquoise hair, and a sinister smirk, said, and I can't believe you didn't kill the Shinigami. Ulquiorra stood
अब
impassively.
वर्ल्ड में आया क्या? भेजो
My
भी।
mission was to observe the subject, he replied. Yami's
आवाज
death
नहीं
was
आ-
his own fault, anyway. It's not my responsibility to clean up after his errors. The Aaronkar cackled loudly. Seriously? Is that your excuse for your poor showing against the human? I
Baba
need no
joining
excuse.
परमा भेजा दे।
I was not fighting to kill him. It does not
बाबा।
matter. The mission was accomplished. It's always the mission with you, eh? Where are you going? Rukia asked, trailing behind Ichigo, who was trying his hardest to block out not only her voice, but the voice inside of his head, loudly berating him. God, death cannot be worse than his current existence. I'm going to Inoue's place, he said. If you want to see her, I'll let you know when I'm done talking to her.
टूरिस्मो आता है ना?
Rukia
हाँ,
rose an eyebrow. What are you going to talk
Oh,
to
yeah.
her about? Stuff, mostly her powers
Wait.
though.
आवाज नहीं
Rukia
आ-
blinked. So, you noticed too, she said. Ichigo paused, and turned around.
चिकन
What are you talking about?
कौन सा गाड़ी
He
है?
asked. Her powers,
Okay,
the
so
first
don't-
time I seen them up close, I was amazed.
डिफॉल्ट
They were much more different than I ever could
मैं
have
जो लिया था वही ले
imagined.
रहा है वापस
Do you know what it could mean? Rukia shook her head, slowly.
ई
Honestly, I never put too much stock into it. But something has you worried, huh? Not
Huh?
worried.
गलती से 5
More curious. Ichigo said, and, I guess, a little worried. Do you know Saito Yu? Rukia pupils slightly twitched. How do you know Saito-sama? She asked. He introduced himself to us, when we landed in the Rukanga. I'm guessing he isn't a pleasant name to hear. He most certainly isn't an ally of ours, Rukia said, with a large dose of edge present in
अरे
her
ये भी
voice.
नहीं था जो मैं
They're
लगाया
an
था.
elite bunch, but they seem more focused on dealing with
कौन
politics.
सा था मेरे को याद ही नहीं आ रहा बकवास था पर
Well, he took an interest to Inoue, and think it has to do with her powers. Did you ask Urahara before coming to me? Of course I did, Ichigo answered, but it's either that he doesn't know, or if that's he refusing to tell me. But why now?
अरे
Why are you so concerned now? Because that Aaron car that I didn't kill
हाँ
was sent
खेला
here
था
to
मेरे
observe.
साथ.
And he got a great look at her powers. And you think Aizen might be interested? Of course. I just want to confirm what I think her powers could
अरे
be.
क्या है उड़ गया मैं.
And what do you think they could be? Ichigo shrugged. I don't know. But I have a couple of tests in mind. Tsubaki-kun. You want me to bring him back?
भाई क्या पूरा पाइप है वहाँ आगे
Orihime
भी?
asked. Ichigo responded, with a slow nod. Just try, he said, I know you can do it. Orihime, with a soft exhale, grabbed the crushed remains
अरे मैं
of
उधर से आ ही
Tsubaki and summoned her Soden Kisai. The two watched, as the brawny fairy began to reform. Tsubaki-kun. Orihime said, covering her mouth. Ichigo smiled, slighting. Confirm anything? Kamen asked. Confirmed a lot. What the hell were you thinking? Tsubaki screamed, as the healing field freed him. Why were you sending such weak attacks at that guy? Calm down, Ichigo said, she did just heal you. You should be grateful. Who the hell are you? Tsubaki asked, menacingly. A
अरे
friend.
मैं इधर अटक गया.
Now, I didn't come to talk to you. Why I dash? Tsubaki-kun, this is Kurosaki-kun. He's the one who asked me to heal you. Why didn't you heal me before? I didn't know I could. Well, you can. At least you could have tried. Ichigo narrowed his eyes. Inoue, could you? Oh, okay. Tsubaki-kun, we'll talk later. The boisterous fairy returned back to his home in Orihime's hairpins. Okay, Kurosaki-kun. What did you want to speak about? Ichigo shifted his eyes around. What that I'm sorry, he said, I'm sorry. I'm not very good at the apology thing, but I need to do this. Kurosaki-kun, you don't have to apologize. No, I do. It's my fault.
मैं गलत
And I
गाड़ी
needed
लिया
to
था.
apologize. I really messed up, and because of that, you were hurt, and I'm sorry. I know that doesn't make anything better, but I guarantee this that I will not allow you to be hurt again. On my watch that I will be your shield, and your sword, and I will protect you. Ichigo bowed his
गाड़ी
head.
सीधा कैसे होता है?
Orihime averted her glance, nervously.
क्या F?
I thought you don't have to do this.
अरे F दबा.
No. I
अब
needed to do
respawn हो गया,
this.
दबा दिया.
And, well,
अरे कौन सा
it'll
तो एक
clear my
side
head
था.
for later. What do you mean? Orihime asked. Ichigo sighed, and sat on the coach next to her.
ए जा रे पिछला मैच
There are
देखा
some
तेरा.
things happening
एक वो
that I
सादा
cannot
स्टंट
prevent,
नहीं हो रहा था
and
तेरे
things
से.
that aren't different sides and so
नूब
forth.
कंट्रोलर से भी
Is
नहीं
there
हो रहा
something
था.
going on? Ichigo rubbed his forehead. There is a lot going on that I just need you to know that I may
कंट्रोलर
not
से
be
भी नहीं
there all
कर
the
पाया.
time,
छी.
that I will protect you, without fail.
ए जा रे.
Orihime's cheeks turned the faintest of pinks. Ichigo sat back, and placed his hands inside his pockets. At least allow me that. Well, nothing to do here, Yura said, I guess I can report back. She rolled her shoulder, as the sound of a crushing wind was heard. Yura, hair now dyed red, instead of the former green,
10
narrowed
सेकंड
her
बचे, 10
eyes.
सेकंड बचे. 9 सेकंड
Is that a
सामने ही हो.
garganta? She asked, guess I can hang for
नहीं
a
होएगा.
while.
तो वहाँ पे
Please
गंदा
let
हो
me
गया
stay
था.
here.
हाँ ये
Matsumoto pleaded, bowing to a puzzled
गया.
Orihime. Ichigo rolled his eyes.
अरे मेरा एक
Look,
जगह अटक गया
Inoue
था रे.
said,
वहाँ से निकल
Ishiro
नहीं रहा
said,
था.
don't let her pressure you. Man, this looks like fun, but I'm going to
था ना
dash.
उसके लिए तेरे को
Maybe you
तेरे
can
को
stick
दिया ही नहीं
around,
पैसा
Rukia said, smiling. Let Ranjaku know that there are some ground rules here. I don't live here. Inoue can make her own decisions, he said, before looking over the blonde. Hopefully, it'll be the right one. Why don't you stick around though? You seem to like Inoue enough.
ये कौन सा है रे बाइक वाला?
Really?
मोड में हो, फ्री मोड में हो।
I wouldn't mind,
वो
I
बाइक वाला
guess,
कौन सा
she
है?
said. That's a good idea,
महामारी
Ichigo.
वाला है शायद। फ्री मोड में
Yup.
शायद वैसा नहीं आएगा।
Where are Renji
अरे एक जन
and the
जा
other
सकता है वो
goons?
इनवाइट करेगा ना
You're
invite
Hara's
अबे
place.
रेटिंग 69 था।
I guess they thought that was the best spot for
बाबा
them.
का favorite।
That's Red Dead. I guess they don't know about that
शेर में
guy.
अगला रैक।
What the hell is that thing? Renji and Ikiku screamed, as a large cardboard box sat in the room. Yumichika laid still, passed out by the ghastly sight. It's not that bad, Urahara
ये
said,
क्या हो गया?
cheeky.
इंट्रो लग गया।
Get
Arena
it
War।
away from US. That's their problem,
Invite to
Rukia
Bleach.
said, shuddering.
अरे इंट्रो लग गया। हाँ।
Ichigo nodded. And where is the kid going to stay? Oh, maybe he could dash. No. I wasn't going to say you, idiot.
नहीं
I would never inflict that kind of fate on another.
क्या है?
I was suggesting that he stay with Sato-san. Ichigo
Huh?
tilted his head.
बगी वाला लगा है।
I guess that could
Ah, yeah.
work, he said. Sure
ये
thing.
क्या है अरीना और
I'll take him over. So you were the leader of the invaders, huh? Toshiro said. Ichigo
अरे,
rolled his
क्यों
eyes.
ये कौन आ रहा है?
Sounding a bit hostile, huh, he said,
yare,
and as
fine.
loosely as one can interpret the word, yes, I was the
अरे
leader.
तूने ऊपर नहीं लगा क्या
And you invaded to save Kachiki.
ये लगता है 2v2 खेल
Yeah.
रहा है।
You still sound rather hostile.
Matchmaking